Roy Keane, how significant do you think that victory is?
It's an important step for him, with the other teams doing so well over the weekend. Wasn't great the second half. I thought you lacked quality, particularly from Arsenal's point of view. But you take a win on the first day of the season and you move on. Obviously, a home game next week to Leeds. They'll fancy themselves in that match. But overall, I think the game was poor second half. The expectations at United now is so low that even when Gary was talking a commentary, everyone's even comfortable with 1-0 defeat. You know, you've got to do better again.
Does that trouble you?
It does worry me, yeah. Even there was obviously the couple of the new signings, a lot of encouragement with that, and they're getting you up the pitch and there's a bit more power. You think, obviously, results will improve. It's always tough against Arsenal, but again, no goal, another defeat. First of the season. So yeah, there's still problems there with United, and then we see it obviously with the goal, in terms of set piece, physicality, determination to get a result. Your goalkeeper really not doing well enough, not being strong enough. So yeah, there's still that worry. I had it before the match. Encouragement from some of the attacking players, but
what was your main worry before the game?
I still think that, I suppose what we saw, again, not for all the bit of encouragement, hitting the post and keeper making saves, you never felt United had 2 or 3 goals in them. And even Arsenal getting the 1 goal, obviously Arsenal, I think that's a worry when I see what Arsenal are doing. You wonder why Arsenal are just coming up short, because they're still happy enough to kind of sit in at 1-0. And then you go, is that the reason you drew so many games last year? You know, if we're comparing them to a Man City or a Liverpool, they're always thinking, let's go and get the second goal. Even on a bad day with Liverpool, you think they'll score 2 or 3 goals. So that's the challenge for Arsenal. But for the first day of the season, obviously their sharpness will improve. Like Saka, Odegaard, Rice, I think there's a lot more to come from them. But of course, you take a win on the first day of the season and a clean sheet.
United had their moments, didn't they? But did you ever feel that Arsenal were vulnerable or they were going to concede?
Yeah, I did. And Burma was in some great positions, and you know, if you're thinking he makes the perfect connection on the ball, it's a goal. You know, the keeper made some good saves. They showed a different side to Arsenal that we haven't seen, which is that they were a lot more open in those central areas. They found a lot of joy down the right-hand side with Mbeumo, especially in the first half. And I think all in all, Man United's attack will go away thinking to themselves, on another day I could have left scoring 1 or 2 today. That's how I would have felt. Certainly if I was in Mbeumo, I could I'd be going to bed thinking, wow, I should have left with 1 today. So I think they're going to take confidence from their performance, Man United, but in the end, the result's all that matters, and Arsenal will leave going to London buzzing with themselves, saying, look, we didn't perform to our best today, but we're going on with the 3 points.
As you said, Mikey, before the game, if your ultimate goal is to win the title, you have to win here.
Yeah, and they won it, and it wasn't pretty at times, as the guys have said, but it's how much you can dig deep. And I think with Arsenal, what's helped them sort of stay in the fight for the title of the previous seasons, when they get into that low block, they're very difficult to break down. Adding the set pieces, and they're a good side. I would just like to see them be a little bit more brave. And I'm not just talking about today, I'm talking about previous games as well. But how to start a season, to come to Old Trafford and get the 3 points, you can't ask for much more than that, especially when your players are not fit at this moment in time.
Right, let's touch on the mighty Man United briefly, following them.
What? The mighty who?
Shut your face. 2-0 Tonkin at home to Sunderland on Saturday. Goals from Mason Mount and Benjamin Sesko. Gordon Sesko were enough for the 3 points, which leaves Ruben Amorim's side now 10th in the league. Shut up. After the game, Amorim spoke to TalkSport's John Dunny.
3 successive wins here in the Premier League. First time in a while. Is that another building block to try and get this place a fortress?
It's a big team needs to win every game at home, but the frustration came with the way we perform at home is not the same we play at away, and that is a frustration that we need to change. Of course, if you compare the last season, a different context with the Europa League, but we were struggling at home. To have that feeling with our fans is really important, give us confidence, but again, we need to perform like this away also.
I did an Instagram live just before we came on air, and someone said, are you having Ruben Amorim now, do you still want him out? And I just said, yeah, still want him out. And I said, no disrespect to Sunderland, beating Sunderland at home 2-0 hasn't changed my mind. Our next game, you just told me there in the break, our next game is away at Liverpool, right?
Yeah, we'll find, there's still no back-to-backs.
We'll find out where we're at the moment.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Sunderland, but that's not the test. Is it? That's not.
No, but I think Sunderland have started off really well
They
this season.
have. But I expect Man United to beat Sunderland at home.
You would, but I do you know what? And this is, listen, it's a big statement, but yes, on name alone, I'd expect it. But the performances on the pitch, I'm a bit like, that's not an easy one. That
no, it's not. And there were benefits. You know, I was watching the game and I was surprised that Mason Mount started over Cunha.
Yeah,
but he played really well. Great goal,
lovely
well.
goal.
Goalkeeper. I mean, he made some good saves, right? But everyone's getting
comfortable saves.
Comfortable saves, yeah. I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, you can't do more than keep a clean sheet, so well, but I can't get excited yet about that. I mean,
but it's building blocks because there's a time.
I've seen before we beat Chelsea and then we got smashed in our next game.
Yeah, no, listen, I fully understand that, but I just think you've got to at some point. He's got to build somewhere. You're right, because you get beat, but you beat Chelsea and get smashed by Brentford. So
I mean, it pains me to say. I'm going to be brutally honest, right? I have to talk about every team as if I'm completely impartial, right? Even if it's when my own. We're appalling at the moment, right? And I've said I don't think the manager's good enough. I've said it about Big Ange. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think Ruben Amorim's good enough.
I just don't think it could be so reactionary. And
who?
No, but not you, because you have been quite consistent by saying he's not good enough, right?
Yeah.
But you've been beaten by Sunderland, so then I've heard.
No, we beat Sunderland.
Yeah, I've heard some people saying, yes, he is the right man. But if you get beat by Liverpool, it's going to be like, get him out.
Yeah. I haven't changed my mind. Yeah. There's got to be consistent.
Yeah, of course.
I haven't changed my mind. You know what? 10th at the moment, just 3 points off top 5. But that's mainly because everyone else has been beaten by everyone. Everyone's quite poor. In fact, it's probably only Arsenal that have looked.
Yeah. Just funny. You said to me before the show, you went, we're only 6 points behind Arsenal.
Here we are, are we? Are we?
Yeah, 6, but that's a lot.
I don't think that is, not for us.
Mate, you've only played 7 games.
No, but you're meant to be a team that's going to win the Premier League.
Yeah,
we're a team in your eyes that won't get top 8.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're 6 points shy of you.
Arsenal have only lost 1 game. Liverpool, which was a wonder strike. They've drawn 1.
Does that not count?
Yeah, of course it counts.
All right, okay.
They conceded 3 goals.
You look great. By the way, mate, if you don't win the Premier League this season...
Oh, do you want though? Give me the Champions League, man. I need to...
No, I think you want...
No, I don't. I want Champions League. So I can come in here and gloat to you about we sit at the top table.
If you win the Prem, you'll be gloating for the whole season.
I know. I will gloat. Don't get me wrong. But if you ask me, if I had a preference, and this is simply
no, if you
selfish.
threw away the league again...
No, if won the Champions League.
Here's the thing.
Remember, I'm old enough to remember Arsenal winning it.
I know. If winning what?
The Prem.
I know, but if we're sat here next season and you've won the Champions League and not the Prem, the argument I have to wind you up will be it's a knockout tournament.
Yeah, and I would say we're the best team in Europe. So what's your point?
No, I know that, but I'm saying if you win the Prem, I have nothing.
I know.
I have nothing to throw
but
at
if
you.
we win the Prem and lose the Champions League, your argument still will be we don't sit at the top table.
Yes, it will be.
And I don't want to hear that.
Is it?
So I would rather Arsenal win the Champions League than you go, well, Forest can sit there. Villa can sit there.
I need a stick to beat you with.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I need to see a star on the shirt.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of my dad rubbing me in wearing his Chelsea shirt with 2 stars on, gold badge because they won a Club World Cup, whatever else they won.
Yeah. You won't be considered an elite team till you win it.
That's my point. There's that there, what you just said, is why I need Arsenal.
No, I get that. I get that. I understand that. But, I mean, the Prem, you now as an Arsenal fan, I think you said on last week's show you fancy it and you're going to win it. I mean, Liverpool have looked flaky from day one, right? And I think something like...
I'm still not writing them off. No way.
No, I'm not right. I've said Man City will win it.
Yeah, I know you have. Yeah, but Haaland's a man on a mission.
We'll talk about him a bit later on. He's a beast, isn't he?
But honestly, I'm tired of my dad coming to my house with buying my kids Chelsea shirts with 2 stars, gold badge, what else they've won. And
Club World Cup.
Everything.
We're on the World Cup now.
Honestly, nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
Okay, we'll take calls on it another day.
Sport Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSport app and on your smart speaker. TalkSport.
Manchester United still have not managed to collect back-to-back victories under Ruben Amorim. Of the 17 ever-present Premier League teams since he was appointed, Manchester United rank 15th. They've picked up 1 point more than Tottenham, and they are level on points with the next worst, West Ham United, who have got an extra game which comes tonight. Then come Wolves. The other point to make is that Wolves have changed their manager, West Ham have changed their manager, Tottenham have changed their manager as well, and then a big gap to Fulham and Everton. So that's the context of his performance as Manchester United manager. And then you look how he's compared with other Manchester United managers since Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge. And many of these haven't been considered successful, but look at the start that he's made. From those first 33 games, he's almost on we almost need another screen to put him on. The margins are absolutely huge, which is why there is so much concern, it feels right now, amongst Manchester United supporters. And here's another one. And this is for even wider context. When you talk about other managers in Premier League history who've been given 33 games and having been appointed in existing Premier League clubs, there aren't actually that many. So we've taken out promoted managers. There aren't many who've performed like this. And at the bottom of that list is Steve Keane with Blackburn, 29 points. Roberto Martinez with Wigan. I think this is relevant as well. The clubs they've been in charge of. Dave Merrington at Southampton. Egil Olsen, the Norwegian. You'll remember at Wimbledon, Ozzy Ardiles didn't have a great start at Spurs either. I think, Duncan, you were involved.
I was involved in the 98, 99 one. To be fair, I think I got sold then. I got sold to Newcastle around about 1998, if I remember right.
So of those managers who've been appointed to existing Premier League clubs, he is one of the worst over this time period.
Yeah.
Do you think that the club is particularly relevant here?
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Let's be fair, he's a lucky boy still to be in a job. I think he's got a bit of credit on what he did last year, coming to Man United when they were struggling a wee bit. So he came last year, he didn't really want to come last season. So I think they've given him a wee bit of credit in the bank there. But look, for a team like Man United to be, you see the stats there. The stats are for there to always see. So he's very lucky to stay in his job. But hopefully he gets another few games. You know what I mean? Because we always want the managers to stay in their jobs and be successful. But it's not good enough, is it?
Well, it's Sunderland next, and then it's the international break. Why do you think he is still in a job?
I think he's still in a job because I think the powers that be and Manchester United have made that many mistakes so far in decisions that they've made on and off the pitch that they almost don't want to admit right now that they've made another. And this has been a disaster for Manchester United, but also Ruben Amorim. What he did at Sporting Lisbon was fantastic. You know, he looked like the next big thing as a manager, but bringing a manager like that in terms of the system that he played, I don't think ever really suited the club of the traditions of Manchester United. And the quicker Manchester United make the decision on the manager, I think it's better for everybody, because as I said, it's been a disaster for club but also the manager, and we're only waiting for the inevitable. I think unfortunately, as Duncan's just said, you don't want to see people lose their jobs, but this has to end as quickly as possible.
Is that group of players better than it is looking?
I think so. I think they are, but I think maybe it's the system. You know, everybody talks about the system a lot, doesn't he? He's not changed the system at all. He's not trying to find a way. When you're losing games, you've got to find a way to win. You just can't keep on going with the same system all the time. So you need to try and find a way to win. And he's never done that. He's stuck to the same system. He needs to change it a little bit. Maybe going to a back four. Go back more traditional Manchester United. But to be fair, when they recruited them into play this formation.
100%.
They knew what they were getting.
They knew what they were getting. They wanted that formation. They wanted that style of play, and they've got that.
I think you're right. I'm big on that. I mean, I've never been one of them saying he has to change his system. A lot of managers speak and say, I've got a certain style. The system might change, but my style doesn't. His baby is his system. It's like asking Jurgen Klopp not to press or Pep Guardiola not to play short passes through the middle of the pitch. This is what he is. That's on Barada or Jason Wilcox or Jim Ratcliffe. They brought him in. Talking about him changing centre-backs, a stat came out that he changed in his 49 games, 42 times he's changed the back three. He did that at Sporting Lisbon. You knew that when he came in, the powers that be. So that's the big problem there. But the problem, I think, when you look at Ruben Amorim, I think every other Premier League manager would look at Manchester United and think, I could do a better job than that. And the only positive for Manchester United is they haven't gone all in on his system. They've gone all in on him in terms of giving money to spend, but they haven't bought lots of centre-backs. They haven't brought lots of wing-backs. The players they bought in the summer can easily be flipped into a back four, getting Bruno Fernandes as the number 10, Brian Mbeumo right wing, maybe Cunha to the left, Sesko up front. And I think a competent football manager could get that Manchester United team in that system to the European places, or certainly fighting for them.
We asked our fans, again, on the Finalysis app, those verified Manchester United fans, to answer this question on whether he should be given more time. And actually 46% still say, yes, he should. How does this play out, Duncan, if he continues to play the same way, the same tactics?
Well, obviously he's hoping that the results are going to change, aren't they? But look, these records suggest that they're not going to change. So unfortunately, if he doesn't get the results, he's going to lose his job, isn't he? It's as simple as that. He's going to lose his jobs. I think the 46% of them are Liverpool fans there that voted. I just got that in there.
I can tell you they're not. They're all verified Manchester United fans. And I suppose this is something about Manchester United. They do like to stick with a manager, don't they?
Listen, there has been a lot of change. You just highlighted some of those managers, but it wasn't a case where the club were changing managers every 6 months or 12 months. A lot of those managers that we looked at there, Jose, Louis van Gaal, even Ollie, you're talking 2 or 3 years, and I think that's a decent enough amount of time for a manager. But Ruben Amorim's probably not been in the job for 12 months yet, but it couldn't have gone any worse. And I feel for him, he's a young manager, he's had a great start in his managerial career. What he did was really special at Sporting Lisbon. But those results for a club of that stature is just beyond belief. And as I said, you don't want to see anybody lose the job, but I think it's just better for everybody if they shake hands and move on.
But we are, inevitably, not for the first time this season, and I very much doubt it'll be the last, we're going to start with the red half of Manchester. And Tim, I'm aware that as we start here yet again, as I said at the start, it's like Groundhog Day when it comes to Manchester. I imagine there's a lot of people throwing things at the TV right now and going, not United again. Why aren't you talking about Bournemouth? Why aren't you talking about Palace? But the size of the club merits them being a talking point. But at the moment, they're looking at best and mid-table side. So do they still merit the amount of attention we give them?
Yes, because of the support what they have worldwide. Still a huge football club, still a big pool for any player or any manager to go to. But it's a distant memory to what we remember of Manchester United. You know, certainly when I played, they were a giant, a juggernaut.
But it's all in the rear-view mirror now, and it has been for some time.
It is, but that's why we still talk about it. That's what we remember. And I, for one, I want them to be big again. I want them to be great again.
Why?
I think because it's a huge football club, and it's a well-supported club, and I want more competition in the Premier League. And I think if they get it right, a club of that magnitude has got the opportunity to challenge at the top end of the division. They spend like a big side. So you can't ignore the fact that
they pay like a big side as well, don't they?
Pay money like you wouldn't believe. The players want to go and play for Manchester United. They all remember them being great. I believe they will be great again. But it looks like it's going to be a long, long way away at the moment, and they can't get anything right. They put an infrastructure in off the pitch. Hopefully that'll transmit onto the pitch. But at the moment, you'd have to say something has to give. And I'm not sure whether it's the manager. It can't continually be the players, what they've turned over. Someone has to get the best out of this group of players, and it certainly isn't this man at the moment.
And I get, Clinton, what Tim's saying. Listen, they're still a huge global brand. They bring eyes to the sport right around the world, whatever they're doing. And at the moment, they're vastly underachieving as a club. But it's nice to see the old guard broken up a bit, isn't it? I mean, look at your old club, Crystal Palace, absolutely flying. Bournemouth hitting second last night. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Is it not good to see the big clubs broken up?
Yeah, of course it's good, but if you're a Man United fan, it's not good. You want to have your club back and your team back, but I totally get what you're saying. It is good that we talk about the likes of Bournemouth and Crystal Palace, and we deserve to talk about them because they're teams that are doing well, but at the moment, Man United are not doing well. It's nowhere near good enough. I've said it many a times. This week, he comes under pressure again, playing against a good Sunderland team. But knowing how I know it's worked out for him recently, he'll get a result this afternoon because that's how it's been. And then the heat will be off him for 1 week, then he'll lose again.
And then they play Liverpool after the international break. So you can imagine the week after that, we're sat here again.
And we're talking about it again. But they need to get some consistency. Over the last few years, it's not been good enough. And that's the biggest thing. They are big players.
Yeah.
And if they are big players, they're still a huge football club. And it'll always be a big football club, but they have to start delivering on the pitch. It's been nowhere near good enough. And I'll go back to it and I keep saying, he's a good manager, but good managers know how to change. Tim will be able to tell you, he hasn't been able to change. He sticks with that formation. And everyone on here and everyone in the media talk about maybe it's a change to try and get the best out of your player, Bruno Fernandes, who is not very good in a 2. He's better in a 3, where he can be the free role in a number 10. And he's not listening to anyone. You have to change or you lose your job site.
And I just wonder, Sue, because it's system is what we talk about every time we talk about Ruben Amorim. But you need your players to buy into it. You look at the body language of Harry Maguire when he came off during that defeat against Brentford a week ago. It looks from afar like the players don't even believe in what he's trying to do. And when you're in that situation, you've got a massive problem.
Yeah, that is the problem. I think when the players don't buy into it, I think as a player, you buy into things that work. So I think if you keep losing and things keep not going the way that you want them to go, eventually you just go, well, this isn't working. You know, as a player, you want to be the best version of yourself, but you also want, you know, from whether it's a defensive perspective, you know, we saw Brentford absolutely brilliant in terms of they identified where Manchester United's weaknesses were.
And this is even a Brentford side that we saw last season. Some key players have gone.
Yeah, and you've got to praise, you know, Keith Andrews, because he's looked at what Manchester United have struggled with, and you can say it's a long direct ball, but it's a direct ball with purpose, isn't it? And we've said Manchester United have strengthened in those attacking areas. It was something they needed to do last season. Not enough goals, not enough creativity. They've done that. They haven't done anything defensively in midfield. You know, they need that sort of athlete, the physicality in there. If they're going to play this system, you know, we've saw defensively, the back three, it's just not worked with the players that they've got. The wing backs, it's not worked for them. He's then chopping and changing, so he's not got any consistency because he doesn't know who's the best three to play in there. So yes, they've had injuries as well, but we keep talking about the system because it hasn't worked, has it? It's not suiting the players that he's got.
And you look at that result so far this season. I mean, it's also been a continuation, really, of what we saw last season. And listen, in terms of where the blame lies at the moment, in terms of whether it's just on AMORIM, whether it's on Jim Ratcliffe, but they brought him in knowing that he was wedded to this particular style. So where do you put the blame for where United are right now? You can't put it all on him. Nope. This has been going for a while.
It's got to be collective. It starts at the top and everyone has to take responsibility. But what I will say in the summer is as I looked at the recruitment and Bumo, Cunha coming in, Sesko coming in, we weren't too sure what it was going to be like, still very, very young coming to the Premier League. We saw it with Højlund, it didn't work, paid big money, ship him on. And then you look at the position where you go, they probably really need to go and recruit in a Donnarumma or someone like that, in a goalkeeper. We saw the goals go in there against Brentford. And, you know, you keep playing the same way and you don't keep doing your jobs and you're not improving, it's going to be the same outcome. If you've got something successful, you don't move away from it, do you? You keep doing the same thing. And if it's not going right, maybe you have to adapt. And I look at that team and think it's set up for a 4-3-3. So why not change? Because we're not seeing an improvement. And this is Ruben Amorim's question mark over him is, you see him there tactically. You can do all the tactics there. This is Grimsby away from home, and you look there, he looks lost. And one thing as a player, I've experienced this from managers. What you look to is your leader at the top of the pile. And some of his media comments, and when he first got the job, he came out, he was bullish. And I sat here when he got the job and went, I really like him. He comes across, great character. I tell you what, when the going gets tough, isn't much of a character in there. He's talked about sometimes not sure if I like this job or I'm enjoying it. Well, do you know what? You're a manager. You have to galvanise your team. You are the top. And that's where you look to when you look. It makes changes and it's not working. So for me, it has to be adaptable. And if you're not, he's stubborn and there's only going to be one outcome.
I think the players all want to play. So you've got Maguire, you've got De Ligt, you've got Casemiro, experienced players. They can see something's not working, but they're scared almost to go to the manager and have that frank conversation and saying, Gaffer, this is not working, we need to change something. Whereas I hate that we're blaming the system. I hate that. It's up to the manager to get the best out of the individuals. He has improved nobody. But because he's on the media, he's so strong about the system and he won't change. Even if the Pope asked him to change, he will not do it. It makes it impossible. If you go to him and say, I'm not happy in this system, I'd admit, I'll hold my hands up. None of us across the back five are responsible. We seem to all be leaving it to each other, rather than if we play a flat back four, then you take the winger, you take the centre forward, you wait till the 10 comes in, you push in. It's easier. We've all grown up playing with a 4 at the back. A 5 is a little bit more sophisticated, but it's not working. It's not working, but I hate to blame the system. Get the best out of the individuals. There's a group of players, what you have. They spent an absolute fortune giving you the tools to be successful. And you failed miserably at the moment. Hopefully you can get a result and turn it around. This team have not won back-to-back since he's been there. Yeah. It's impossible for Manchester United.
You know, like, so if you're the manager there, yeah, and you hear everyone talking about the system and that, surely when you were managing, and I know you was, you would have a plan B.
No, you change.
You change.
No, but even if you haven't got a plan B, you try something. Yeah. You try something different. But he seems to think there's a notion that if you change, you're selling your soul. It's nonsense. You have to change. The best managers in the world change, tweak. You know, don't just throw it all out the window. There'll be certain aspects and what you want to continue with, but you have to tweak your formation.
Does he maybe fear change because he's never tried a change and he's at the biggest club in the world, so he's thinking...
Absolutely.
I think it could work, but I daren't.
I think the Premier League has absolutely smashed him in the face, and he cannot believe the competitive nature of it. I think when he's in Portugal, he's got 4 games a year. If you're managing, if you're managing Porto,
that is a gross exaggeration, but I know what you're saying.
There's 3 teams in there who can win the league. It's Benfica. You look at the history. It's Porto, it's Benfica, it's Sporting Lisbon, where he's been. So you can build and you can experiment on the job. when you play against the lesser sides. And then you get the results, and then all the players look at you and they think you're the messiah because you're making all these little tweaks against the lesser sides, and it's all coming off and you're winning games, and then you're lifting the trophy at the end of the season. Congratulations. This is the Premier League. If you tweak on the job here, you will get beat.
Yeah.
The pressure comes. You're at a huge football club. I just don't know what the answer is. I really don't.
Do you think it's gone too far now, though? Do you think because he's stuck to this system so long, do you think it's just gone too far?
Sue, if you went to see Ruben and you said, like, I'm really not happy in the system, you know what he would do? He would listen to you. What he would say is, you don't play then.
Yeah.
Well,
that is a
we've
problem.
seen him doing that.
That's
already.
why they're scared of doing that. They won't do that, but they should for the good of the side. The experienced players need to get together and they need to go and see him and then just say, Gaffer, let's try and let's get a win here.
And that's
somehow.
the thing. That's the thing, Tim. You talk about results. There's been fine margins, obviously Fulham, Bruno missed a penalty last week against Brentford, but it all comes back to, we're reflecting on it because they lost another game. Bruno misses a penalty, there should have been a red card by Collins, but ultimately, I'm not just going on results. We look back and go, is this team improving? Do I see something from them going, all right, results haven't been quite right, but am I seeing them improve? Are they all aboard of this way of playing and going,
well, picking up on what Tim said, could you name a single player? And this was the same thing we talked about with Ten Hag, who've improved under AMORIM since he arrived.
No.
Well, that's damning in itself, isn't it?
It is.
Because you can argue there's a lot of players, he's made lesser players. Look at the likes of Mainu. You know, they're struggling under him.
No, Dawes, you'll be there thinking all day.
And all night. We've got till 6.
A little bit of defence in his way of going. I said he wouldn't change from the way he was going to play, but I want to see an improvement from the team and going, look, it's going to take time, which we always said it would. We knew it weren't going to be a quick fix because we've seen this for a long time with Manchester United, and I don't want to see managers get sacked. But what I want to do see, in the time he's been in that football club, as a team improved, as an individual improved, and I don't think we can say yes.
But the thing is, Sue, I mean, listening to Wayne Rooney, and listen, he's got a very mixed managerial career, but when your record goal scorer says something about the club, you take note. He says, I don't recognise the whole football club. I don't see players fighting. I don't see character. I don't see a desire to win. That's not just down to AMORIM. That's a wider cultural issue at the club, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well, we've seen players go out, haven't we? And suddenly they start performing when they go out of the football club. So I think there's a lot of things to look at. I think it's definitely a collective because, you know, I think Dawes touched on it. You've got to look at the people that have brought AMORIM in. They knew exactly how he was going to play. So that was clearly no surprise, was it, that he was going to come in and he was going to stick to that system and play that system. They've then backed him, and then they're in a bit of a dilemma then, aren't they? Because you've backed him, you've given him the money. Do you then go and, you know, bring another manager in and back them? And it's just a continuous cycle, isn't it? But it's come to a point now where Manchester United, they're not winning games. You don't want a season like last season finishing, was it 15th? A club like that can't be doing that. So, yes, then you can look at the players and say, well, they should be giving their all. But it's tough, isn't it? Because you can see that they can't quite play the way he wants them to play defensively. He wants them to be quite proactive, doesn't he? Get into that midfield area. They look a bit
I don't know.
caught, don't they?
If you ask me how does he want to play, I really don't know. and I think the players would say the same.
And it looks like
and I don't think you have to make wholesale changes.
Yeah.
I don't think with players. I think the recruitment has to be so these players are adaptable to playing different formations. It's up to the manager then to teach them how he wants them to play. Yeah. He's had plenty of times on the training pitch. Plenty of opportunity. They've got plenty of opportunity now because they're out of the Carabao Cup. They're not in Europe. He's got all week to work of them just for one game in the Premier League. And then when the FA Cup comes around, they need to pick up a trophy, but he needs to teach them. Are we seeing an improvement on any of them individually and as a collective on a team formation? Absolutely not.
Clinton, there seems to be a decent amount of confidence they get something today against Sunderland, who, by the way, made their best start of a top-flight season in well over half a century. It's not going to be easy today, but then it's Liverpool away after the international break. If they do decide to make a change, do you think they will?
No, they won't.
You don't?
No, they won't make it.
Because I was going to make the point that already they backed him in the transfer window that's centred around this system, isn't it? So to bin him already doesn't make sense, but from a form-wise, does make sense.
We don't hear any noise from Man United or from the hierarchy that he's under pressure. We're not hearing that. All we're hearing is that he's back. The only noise we're hearing is from us in the media saying he's not doing well enough. And he's not. He's at Man United Football Club. I don't care what anyone says. I agreed with what Tim said earlier. When I was playing, they were the best team by a country mile alongside Arsenal. They were outstanding. They were winning everything. And I just look at it, and some of the, I look sometimes, the manager's struggling, but I also look, do some of the players know they're playing for Man United Football Club? Do they know what it takes to go, how much people would have loved to have gone to play for Man United when they were of a youngster?
I think they do, and that's the problem. It's too big.
So the club's too big for them then. It's too, sometimes when you go into a club like Man United, the shirt's too big for you because the players are not producing. Nowhere near good enough. I'm telling you now, I said it many times, I would have walked up the motorway to play for them and I'd have given 100%. And I might not have been as talented as some of the players that they've got there, but I know when I cross that white line, I'm doing my job without a shadow of doubt.
I think they're trying,
Clinton. They are trying. I would never say players are not trying. They're definitely trying, just not good enough. I don't think that system's working. The players are not working that system because you see what's happening at Palace. That's working, but it's not working there at Man United.
Final question, Dors. If it all goes wrong at home today against Sunderland, does he survive the international break for you?
Ooh, yeah, I think he does. I do. I mean, there's been an awful lot of talk for long enough, and we keep saying, is this the last game? I think they get a result against Sunderland today.
Yeah.
I really do, because then it'll prolong, and we'll be talking about it again in 2 weeks' time when we sat on the show. But because there doesn't seem any talk from inside the club, there's pressure. Yeah. It's all from outside. But if you work for that football club, but my only problem with not problem, but concern with Manchester United is he's so stubborn, and he's coming out and making it like that. So it's like, is he wanting to be put out of that? Like, go on, I'm not changing.
It feels like he's sort of hanging out there, isn't he? But then if you look at Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and they paid nearly 10 million to get him out of Sporting, to bring him in last season, and there's been cutbacks at the club. People have been there for many, many years, being made redundant from a financial point of view and a pride point of view for Ratcliffe. This is one almighty climb down if they decide to go elsewhere.
Oh, it certainly is, because they did everything to get him in the door. And Ruben Amorim knew it was a challenging job. We all knew it was a challenging job, but we thought he could improve the team because of the job he'd done at Sporting Lisbon. And we just haven't seen that. And it brings numerous challenges working for that football club. It has done for different managers over the years, but we just can't seem to see any improvement. And it's challenging for Manchester United, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe will understand that. But then what does he do if it changes? Who does he then look to? Because he's gone down the line numerous times to change it and there's been no improvement. So I think it's only a matter of time, and the way he comes in the media is hoping that...
He'll still be the manager come the end of the season.
Really?
Do you think so?
No, I don't. I think
Clip that up, everyone. Clip that up.
I asked the question.
Yeah, I don't think he will be.
Oh, you are? I thought you were making a statement.
No, I asked us.
Not come the end of the season, no. I don't.
Okay. But in the end, it was a defeat to Arsenal on the opening Sunday of the new season for them. But can we safely say that for Cunha as a whole, that United shirt for him, because of his mannerism, because of his belief in himself, he's not going to weigh too heavily on his shoulders?
Well, only time will tell. You know, I think he's a good player. I do think he's a good player, but he'll have to score goals. You know, that three have got to work as a front three. If they just work as individuals, they'll have no chance.
Were you as impressed with that front three? Obviously, it was Mount in the middle of that front three as everyone else was.
I like Mount. I'm a big fan of Mount. I think hopefully if he does well this season, I think he gets back in the England squad. I think he's a very, very good player. But I just think they're individuals. Mount's not, but I think the two that they bought are more individual than team players. You know, they'll do stuff off the cuff, you know, and only time will tell. Only time will tell. I think he done some really good things in the game. He done some really good things. But when he beats the lads and he gets fortunate from the halfway line, Cunha, and he gets to the edge of the box, he hasn't got that, I've got to make the goalkeeper work here. It was like, I've done my hard work. I've just beat 3 or 4 players from the halfway line. That's where I think he needs to change his game up. But I do like him, and I think the fans will love him. But I don't know if they're going to score loads of goals, them two up front.
But what United need, Boydie, which they haven't had enough of in recent seasons, as a player who plays without fear. And he's exactly that, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think they've had it in the past as well. But it's like everything else. When you're at a big club and your performances drop, then all of a sudden people start to question you. I mean, he's got his move. he's obviously buzzing right now. But if it does go another, few games, he doesn't go on the score sheet, he doesn't create anything for his teammates, then all of a sudden, we've seen it before, where players start their Manchester United career well, and you think, well, here we go. This is going to be the saviour for them, because it's been so poor for a number of years. There is no doubt that the talent's there, and he's confident in his ability. You can tell that when you look at his performances at Wolves, and don't forget, he's already been at a huge football club in Atletico Madrid as well. So he's been there, he's done it. He's probably the Wolves move, get your career back on track. You had 3 seasons there. He will believe that he's arrived now at a football club that he can showcase his talents. He's definitely got it. But I'm similar to Mers. Mbeumo and Cunha, they are very good players, but if you're a striker for Manchester United, and I know they're spent big on Sesko, I'm not sure how many opportunities they're creating for you, because they look to do a lot of things themselves. So for Manchester United, that number 9, I'll say it again, your goalkeeper, which Manchester United have got a problem with as well, and your number 9 is crucial. Sesko might turn out to be a good player for United, but I'm not sure if Mbeumo and Cunha create the opportunities for him to be a success.
By the way, Reynat Nouri is coming off for Man City. We'll go back to Clinton very shortly on that. But for you, Dawes, picking up on Brian Mbeumo's come in from Brentford. I mean, he was very, very tightly marked by Arsenal. They're very aware of what he can do as a player because of those London derbies. But overall, how positive a debut was it?
I was going to say great debut. It wasn't because they didn't win a football match and they lost too many, lost 18 Premier League games last year. But I was really impressed with the front three of Mason Mount in with the new signings. I like them. I'm a big fan of Cunha. 15 Premier League goals at Wolves. I think he's got the X factor. And you see there he's running in behind. Boydie's saying about creating chances. I think they will create chances. Sesko's going to have to take them when he gets his opportunity to start. But I think it was a positive debutant for both of them. I really, really was. The only was again. You become getting used to losing football matches, and we can't just say, "Oh, they played well." This is Manchester United. You have to win when you play well, and they lost too many games last year. But 2 good signings. I think they were going to improve them. Then again, anybody could have improved that Manchester United team that was out there last year. That's it. But like Cunha, like Mbeumo, 20 Premier League goals for Brentford last year. Big players, and they will improve them.
They drew with Arsenal not long ago at home 1-1. They lost. I mean, I know what all the fuss is. They lost 1-0. They drew with Arsenal. What was it? April towards the end of the season, 1-1. And then that was a late goal by Arsenal, and then all of a sudden they get beat 1-0, and everybody's waxing lyric about them.
I don't think the waxing lyric.
No, I'm not talking about you. I didn't say
no,
you.
No, I know, but I do think it's a positive.
People going mad, going, it's positive. How's it positive? They lost.
Yeah.
They lost.
I just think the improvements. That's what I said about losing 18.
The bar's so low, isn't it? Though
the bar is so low.
Yeah, but
performance was better.
Arsenal last week, they weren't the best. They still went to Old Trafford and got 3 points. Manchester United, they were brilliant. The front three done really well. Never scored. Didn't score. Didn't win the game of football. And I mean, if you're Manchester United and you want to get back, these are games that you need to start winning.
I think this game tomorrow's a big game for Man United. They need to win that game. Need to win that game because they need to start winning football matches. But yeah, I thought they were better at the back, Man United. Do you know what I mean? But you've got to score goals. You've got to score goals. It's all about scoring goals. And that's why I was shocked yesterday when Delap come off. They're 5-1 up, Chelsea. You bring
give him game time.
Well, you want to score goals. These two have got to get off the mark as quick as they can. The lad at Liverpool's done it already. Ekitike. Yeah, he's done it. So bang, tick the boxes. Delap, I'm thinking, he could go 10 games now without scoring a goal. And he could, because what the Premier League's like, it's ruthless. And game comes after game, and he might be subbing a game, and that counts as an appearance, and people don't go, oh, he was subbed 4 times. They just go, oh, he played 10 times. I was shocked with that. These two have to get off the mark. I think this is a big football match for him tonight.
That's what you think with Fernandes, obviously being that further one forward than the 2 behind the main striker last season. It looked as if he's maybe going to be deployed in that central midfield role now.
I have to find a place for him on the pitch.
Yeah, 100%. But
Bruno, but they're going to be open. Yeah. They're going to be. I think Mount gives you legs. Do you know what I mean? He gives you energy.
Casemiro doesn't give you legs.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Gives you loads and loads of experience. The only thing is that I would say about the 2 up front, they can put the fear factor in you. I think Dawes will say if he was playing against him, he'd be panicky. Yeah. So it doesn't make teams go out and attack Man United like they used to attack Man United. I think they'll show them a little bit more respect.
Premier League season have now been revealed. And according to Opta, it is Manchester United who have the toughest start. United play 3 of their opening 5 games against teams that finished in the top 4 last season. United's opening opponents, Arsenal, have the second hardest start, including a trip to champions Liverpool, while Aston Villa and FA Cup winners Crystal Palace have the kindest fixtures over the first 5 games. So Ruben Amorim would have been hoping for a kinder start to the new season, but he's got the opposite, really. Let's speak live to United We Stand editor and journalist Andy Mitten. Andy, good to see you. We just spoke to Harry Simeo, Arsenal podcaster, and he was a bit concerned about going to Old Trafford as a first fixture. How do you view having Arsenal at home?
It's difficult, but then Manchester United finished 15th last season. Every game's going to be difficult. It reminded me back to 1989, first game of the season. Arsenal, who were a far better team than Old Trafford then, than Manchester United then, came to Old Trafford and United won 4-1. Michael Knighton was going to take over the club. He was dribbling the ball on the pitch before the game. I studied in the Stretford End that day. It was sunny. The world was a wonderful place. And Manchester United finished 11th that season. Faded very, very quickly after that opening day. It's a tough start for Manchester United. Also reminds me a bit of when David Moyes took over. And 3 of the first 5 fixtures, I think, were teams who'd finished in the top 6. Look, it's difficult. Your headline there was, it's a really difficult start for Manchester United. And it is. But equally, Manchester United have got to show that there's going to be a significant improvement on last season. And there's still time in the transfer market. We've seen one player come in already. We're going to have a full pre-season. The manager's bedded himself in now. So yeah, fans are going to be watching. They're going to be really, really eager to see what happens, but it is a difficult start.
And it's interesting you mentioned David Moyes there. We all know what happened to him eventually as the Man United manager. And we've just shown on Opta there. Opta thinks that Manchester United have the toughest first 5 fixtures. So if they don't start too well, how much pressure is Ruben Amorim going to come under?
He's always under pressure, and the pressure will only increase. The fans have really backed him so far, singing his name at every game because they believe in him. They want to believe in him as well. There's defiance, there's a bit of desperation, but United cannot be finishing 15th next season. There's got to be a significant improvement. And if you're a manager at a huge club like Manchester United, there's always going to be a lot of pressure. And we saw, for example, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer started to fade in the autumn, Jose Mourinho. We've seen this before where managers lose the job in the autumn or October, November, December. I don't think that that's going to happen to Ruben Amorim. I'm backing him. I'm confident that he can bring about improvements, but he also has to do that. The wins have got to come. There cannot be a repeat of last season. And people at the club are absolutely confident that the wins are going to come. I don't think you're going to be seeing United winning the league next season, but there's got to be a significant improvement. And I hope and think that there will be.
I'd imagine, Andy, that the fans are quite encouraged that United are being linked with some big names in the transfer window. Cunha's already through the door. There's also Mbeumo's been heavily linked. Gyökeres, Hugo Ekitike now. How confident are you that you might get another big name or two through the door after Cunha?
So Cunha's signing was greeted with a lot of enthusiasm. United fans had seen how well he'd done for Wolves against Manchester United. Wolves, one of the teams who regularly beat Manchester United. This is what Manchester United have become. I think there'll be another name in. I think there's money there for another name of that sort of price category before Manchester United need to start moving players on, before they can release more funds to bring in other players, which the manager would like to bring in. I was told a couple of weeks ago, think about number 10s rather than number 9s. I was also told about Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford wanting to come to Manchester United. He would be a signing who United fans would absolutely greet with enthusiasm. Brentford probably want to get as much as he can for a player who's been very effective for them. And they're the two who I absolutely factually know about. There's a lot of speculation about the others, but for now, they're the only ones that I know for absolutely certain.
And as you mentioned there, United will probably have to make some significant, sell some players as well. The two biggest, who maybe they could get some of the biggest money for, would be Rashford and Sancho. Do you think, though, if they're going to be able to sell those two, that both would have to take a significant pay cut?
Yeah, they would, because they're among the best paid footballers in the world, and their status doesn't match their pay packet. Anthony as well has done exceptionally well since going on loan to Real Betis, so he would have suitors. Marcus Rashford did well when he went to Aston Villa, and Jadon Sancho did okay when he went to Chelsea as well, but they've got huge contracts at Manchester United, and they're under no obligation to leave them. But as professionals, as people who want to play football, it doesn't look like they've got a future at Manchester United under the current manager. So it's up to compromise to be reached, whether it's them going on loan or whether that's them being sold. But there will have to be compromise there. But this has actually happened a lot in the post-Ferguson years. You've had players with no future at Manchester United moving on, with United either having to subsidise the wages or take a lower fee than they would have otherwise got. This is what happens when you finish 15th. When you're the champions and everyone wants your players, you can charge a price for that. When you're not, then it becomes more difficult in the market.
Andy, I just want to finish with that interview you did with Omar Barad. A very interesting interview it was as well. And he doubled down on his prediction that United will win the Premier League and the WSL by 2028. When he said that, what was your reaction? Were you surprised by those comments?
I think he's aiming for that, and if you're not going to aim for something, then what's the point of being in football? In his mind, it's a realistic target. He knows it's going to be difficult, so absolutely, because rivals are stronger than they've ever been. Every club in the Premier League has got money to buy top players now, far better players than traditionally they've been able to in relation to Manchester United. But aim high and hope that it comes off. It's going to be a stretch, but fortunes can turn pretty quickly in football. We've seen that. We saw Nottingham Forest turn around in the Premier League. I just think for now, for next season, Manchester United have got to be significantly better. Aim for European qualification for the season after, because not having that next season is a big miss. And I think that Omar Barada would agree with that as well. He's got a very clear idea of how he's going to make Manchester United successful, profitable on and off the pitch, and I think most United fans would back him with that as well. But it's difficult. There's no panacea. There's no magical answer just to make things all right with a click of the fingers.
Andy, always a pleasure to get your views on all things Manchester United. And I tell you what, it's going to be a very exciting start to the season for you and the rest of the fans.
Thank you.
Well, it is a season like no other on Sky Sports, with a minimum of 215 games live. That is up from 128 last season. Here are a few things to look out for when the season begins on the weekend of August the 16th. Sky Sports will have at least 215 live games for the next 4 seasons, giving fans the best matches week in, week out until May 2029. Fans will be able to watch 80% of all televised Premier League games on Sky Sports this season. As well as in the traditional Saturday and Sunday slots, the first and last word on a Premier League weekend will also come from Sky Sports. More live games on Fridays and Mondays than ever before. For the first time, all final games on the last day of the season will be live in one place.
No, I don't think it will be. We've had a really, really difficult night, tough night. I just think in games of football like this, when you play lower league opposition, if you don't do the basics well, you're going to come unstuck. And in a game like tonight, you can talk to me about tactics and systems and formations. Just you had to do the basics well.
But I can ask you about systems and formations, because even when the substitutions happened, even if they weren't like for like, so Mason Mount coming on or Xerxes coming on, they still kept the same formation and put round pegs in square holes, didn't they? I mean, Mount was left wing back at one stage.
Well, we was talking about it. So when he changed and put Mason Mount in that position, they still went with a back five, but they were building with a back five against Grimsby, who was sitting on the edge of the box. So your spare man was almost in build-up when you needed that spare man sort of further higher up the pitch to make an overload out wide or through the middle.
Well, how many times was that spare man De Ligt, for example, in that build-up? You know, he'd be the one joining in, and with the greatest respect to him, you should have an attacking player getting into the box, where a lot of the times it was a defender, an extra man. That it just seems crazy that he's so wedded to this formation at all costs and at any circumstance in a match, that he's almost forcing people into positions at whatever the state of the game is. It just seems absolutely baffling to me that there's just no flex at all. You know, and I just feel that is definitely something, yes, application, understanding of what the game was about. I thought they were miles off it in that first half in particular. As if they rolled up today and just had no idea of what's going to be expected at Grimsby Town away on a wet Wednesday night.
I think it's very easy to talk about United and the lack of everything that came with the performance today, but I was so impressed with Grimsby, the way they played. And I said at half time, I was expecting this direct football, hustle and bustle, throw-ins, corners. But it was absolutely the opposite. The way they played the right football at the right areas at the right time, they played with an intensity, with speed. They caused all sorts of problems in the first half and could have been 3-0 up before United scored a goal.
What's he trying to say there?
I think he may be referring to the players in the dressing room. Maybe they've spoke up on his behalf, maybe. But listen, he's obviously hugely frustrated with the performance, the way they started the game. They were sloppy in possession, a lack of, like we spoke about at half time, he alluded to it there, lack of intensity, no speed in the ball, no progression with the ball, and I thought Grimsby were terrific. They stifled United. They couldn't gain a foothold in the game tonight, United, and I mean, for the first 15 minutes, I don't think we've seen United enter Grimsby's half. I mean, they penned them in. It was you didn't expect that.
Look, I know you don't want to talk about specific systems and formations, but he is saying he is seeing things there. He's not seeing anything new that isn't working. He's seeing the same things over and over again. Yeah, so as Natalie said to him, what do you change?
Well, I think the point Phil's making about he doesn't want to talk about, there's certain games, chappers, where that almost becomes secondary, and if you're not prepared to do the basics, when he says my players spoke for me today or spoke with the performance, he's saying what I think a lot of us thought watching it. There's a group of players that turned up tonight, and when they started that football match, did not fancy being anywhere near this game tonight. You could see it in the body language, you can see it in the attitude. Grimsby got after them. Yes, of course, at no point in that first half did they match that intensity. Did they run? And they lost their duels, sprint distances, and I think that's the point he's trying to make. I've put a group of players out there tonight that should be able to go and do a job, and they haven't done it. And it's because they didn't want to do it, in my opinion, and I think he's come out and said that. The system and the formation, for me, yes, should he tweak it? Should he give the players sometimes a better framework? But if you don't do the basics right against anybody, then you come unstuck, and that's what happened for me tonight.
But I've got to keep saying, that game tonight had nothing to do with tactics on the pitch. Tactically, had nothing to do with the game. You have to go into games like that, and you have to be alive from the first whistle. You know what to expect. You know it's going to be a tough game. You're playing against lesser opposition who are going to be shouting and cheering for every single ball. You've got to be so aggressive. You've got to concentrate more than ever in any game. You've got to be able to sustain attacks when you're attacking, and it was too easy for them to play out when United were attacking, and then they end up with a 30-yard sprint in behind. I just think tactically it's out the window.
Okay, so if we take character and player personality, I'm sure there'll be United fans, if any of them are still watching, who will go, how many times do we have to go over this same discussion? How many times it has to be? It doesn't matter who the manager is. In some ways, it doesn't seem to matter who the players are, because there are players that he's brought in this summer there. But the same questions were asked under Ten Hag. They were asked under Mourinho. They were asked under Solskjaer. Right, you were probably part of some of the squads. No, but where you would have been, because those questions were asked about the character. So players come and go, managers come and go, and yet this question of culture and character hangs over this football club. How?
Yeah, look, there's no getting away from it. There's no doubt in my mind that any player walks onto that pitch tonight and wants to put a performance in like that and play that way. I won't have that. But it just wasn't good enough. All over the pitch, they lost so many duels. Even for I think it was the first goal, Ugarte and Ahmad got caught in between a duel. One of them should have at least stopped the counter-attack by a cute little foul. The goals they conceded were so basic. And they just weren't at the races all over the pitch. Maybe on 75 minutes they gathered a bit of momentum, but I think that was because Grimsby tired. They got deeper and deeper, and we did call it during the show that, you know, if United get one here, they might get a second one straight away.
Well, you called, though, that it would come from Maguire, which it did. And I know Mbeumo scored, but they still had £200 million worth of new attackers on there, but it came from Harry Maguire.
Yeah, listen, he's a massive threat on set pieces in both boxes. And any time in a game like that where you need a goal and you get a corner or a set piece, he might have scored one against Fulham the other day when he came on as well. So he's a huge threat. But listen, they shouldn't have been anywhere near penalties, really. I think Grimsby should have been 3-0 up early in the second half, but just it wasn't good enough.
The other interesting thing he said towards the end was, we've got a game on Saturday, we've got Burnley on Saturday, and then we've got an international break where we will sort it out.
But the sort it out is the bit I'm not quite sure where he goes with that. One, a lot of the players will be away anyway for international break. But what do? You can't get rid of. I mean, there's players there that have played so far this season. You know, you can't just go and wipe the deck. So again, for me, that then comes back to you as the manager and saying, right, am I getting the best out of this group on a consistent basis? However, I've got to do that. And it might be switching away a little bit from my belief in a system or a formation. And I just don't think he is. You look at the amount of games that he's lost during his time there, week in, week out, they are not getting the level of performance that they should be out of that. Yes, there's underperformance. Yes, there's a culture that needs a bit of a shift, but he is not getting the best out of that group.
It's a bit harsh, this, because I'm probably asking you to try and interpret what he thinks. But do you think he thinks that if he switches, that's a sign of weakness?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody who's that, set on a system and formation, which is absolutely fine, that's what he was brought in to do and implement. Anybody who changes now is going to be seen as a sign of weakness for sure.
I think the players, honestly, now would crave that. If it gives them a better chance to go and win a game of football, for me, I think they would embrace that. And
if you were in that squad, would you knock on his door and go?
100%. I've been in squads, where you're going between the senior pros, right, we need to go and have a chat with the gaffer in what will give us the best way to go and win a football match. And for me, that's the next step. Are the characters in there now? That's the thing I would ask.
Yeah, I've always said that whenever I played in a back three, if you're an outside of the centre half, I've said it so many times that if you don't get the press right and you go 5-6 seconds late, it has a knock-on effect all over the pitch, and then you end up getting there late, and all of a sudden, in 2 or 3 passes, you are so disjointed all over the pitch. And it's what you've seen in the first half. So many little corner runs down the side, 2v1. They should have scored straight after the second half kicked off. That should have been 3-0. I just felt they were so disjointed. And it's unfortunate because I watched the Arsenal game and I thought they were really good. In possession and out of possession, I thought you could see an improvement from last season. Guaranteed. Fulham first half, first 30 minutes, I thought they were really good. Attacked with intent. Could have been 2 or 3-0 up inside the first 15 minutes. But tonight we didn't see that tonight.
But there were suggestions that there were improvements last week, despite the defeat by Arsenal. There were certainly signs that there were improvements this week in this performance at times against Fulham. Are there signs that things are moving in the right direction under AMORIM?
I think so. There is the right communication. He's very honest. He says what he sees, and I like the kind of clear vision that he's got. He's got a clear vision. Yes, they are in a process, so things not going to be understood by everybody. There is mistakes going to be made and all that. So I like this process. He still have young players, especially the forward position. Last year it was a bit of difficulty to manage that because you have to teach them and at the same time you have to show confidence. Now I think we saw there is like links coming. You know, it's strength coming. There is courage in taking certain type of position, but yes, they're still lacking that dominance in midfield. That's why I think you'll be highlighted that. There is elements where the position of the striker is going to be very decisive. I think we need to play in a way where the two playmakers are a bit narrow. They can give a bit more, creativity or whatever, but they need to really like be together in all the moment of the game. This is why I think he's unhappy. Sometimes they slow down the kind of like speed and get exposed because teams are fit as well. They are committed as well, and they need to really put them at a level where they're struggling physically or whatever, and that's not the case. So that's why he's not happy. That's why he's frustrated, and he thinks that they can do better. So yes, they score a goal, but that's not enough. Man United need to do more and to upset and to score a second goal and third goal, and this is the situation they are in. I think in a way, I like what he's trying to improve or try to address, and then I think he's coming.
It was quite a big topic of conversation last season that AMORIM actually wanted to come in the summer. He didn't want to come in mid-season. He's now had a transfer window. It's now much more looking like his group of players, and we're not at the end of that transfer window yet. Is this almost a clean slate for him, the start of this season, or are we still judging him on what went on last season as well?
I think it's a clean slate. Like you said, he come in halfway through the season and it wasn't when he wanted to come in. He's had a summer transfer window. Obviously, there's still time to do a few more dealings. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I think once the window shuts, then this is his team. And like Louis has been saying there, that you've got to take positives out of what we've seen, especially like the manager saying in the first 20 minutes how they started the game, and they started quick, and Fulham didn't know what to do. But it's just then when you go a goal up, especially when you come to Craven Cottage, you need to go and get the second goal. You need to kill the game off, and they wasn't able to do that. So it's still a bit of indifference there, but there's like I say, there's positives to take. And we spoke about if you're going to have Sesko up top, the big target man, you've got to have two number 10s that want to run off him and get him behind. We haven't stretched the pitch enough, and I think Fulham felt comfortable when he come on, that there wasn't really much running him behind. And I think fitness tells us as well that Fulham looked like they went up a gear, and United literally just sat there. And when you're doing that and you come to a place like Craven Cottage, it's going to be tough. So it was. There was positives in the game, and I'm sure the manager will take positives out of it. And like you say, it's a clean slate, but it's about getting the wins and moving forward and scoring goals.
If they do add more in the transfer window, where do you think they're going to be looking to strengthen? Obviously, the goalkeeper situation needs to be sorted out, but do they need to strengthen in midfield, for example, as well?
I think so. This is why I think they've been in the transfer market looking for some Brighton player, just to mention. They need power. They need people who are able to take on the ball, maybe suck the opposition, whatever, like technically, but physically as well. There is moments in the game where you need that. You really need that aggression, but at the same time, that confidence to actually drive on and show that you are dominant. I don't think that we have that at the moment. It's been said not only by me, but I think that's obvious. And then it's all about attitude. I think the approach of the game, where they're saying there is maybe sometimes where they think about the result, whatever the approach, need to be a bit more courageous and say, no, we have a style, we have the confidence to score more, and this is where they need to get that level up. It's not about new players or new sign or whatever. It's about this attitude and showing that we are good enough, and we're going to do that for 95 minutes.
Louis said a Brighton player. Would Baleba or someone like him be the answer for Manchester United?
I think you do need someone else in that midfield. I think Casemiro was in there today. Bruno Fernandes was in there, and then when it was changed, it was Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, and Alex Iwobi was picking up pockets of space that they couldn't track, and there was midfield runners that were running off where you need a midfielder if the centre backs are picking up the Fulham forwards, then you've got to track midfielders there. And it just looked like there was spaces opening up. You know, whether it's a mentality thing that, you know, you've got to pass that on and talk to each other and help each other out. But, you know, I think there's going to be some more movement in this transfer window, and I think Man United do need a midfielder that can, you know, play as well as defend. You know, can get up and down the pitch, and you know, if it's that player from Brighton, then possibly he might be the answer.
And at the same time, you just like to look at what AMORIM has said about the frustration of Bruno Fernandes. We've seen it. I think he was like middle of the park, trying to controlling the game. It was a bit deeper than he usually is, and you could see his body language was saying, I would love to be involved a bit further up. And then I think a player alongside him who some moment can show, he say, go on, I've got the confidence and I'm going to actually take care of those situations and create some transition for you to create. And at the moment, that's not the case.
Louis, tell me a bit more about the integration of Šeško. You've both mentioned him. You both mentioned how Manchester United are going to need to adapt to that and what he's going to need. How much of it is about him learning how to play with that team, them learning how to provide for him? Because 25 minutes against Arsenal, 37 minutes today, it's hard to adapt to him if he's not playing.
Yeah, it is hard, but it's a process. You have to believe the understanding of the manager. He sees you. He understands the kind of need that you have to. When you come from another championship, it's not the same. The Premier League is really tough. I was saying about the welcome package that I receive. You get bullied, you get all those things, and you have to really understand. And by being in Man United, it's not the same. You really have to understand there is pressure coming, there is expectation, all this, and you have to learn when everybody is asking a result, asking goals and statistics. So it's a process, and I think the manager understands that. He tried to get not the same mistake that maybe he's done with Rasmus. It's not him, but there is element where those players need experience. I always felt like, back in 2 years ago, I was thinking about Harry Kane. Those type of player was able to really teach you like a lot of things, but his movement and all that. So I think in the situation where if the transfer market is closed and they don't have another addition up the field, I think he has to go with a few games like this where he's brought in, put confidence, he has some nice touches. I really feel like he can create a partnership with those two playmakers just behind him. I think he needs to be closer, and then I think we will see chances.
And as you said, it doesn't look like it's worked out with Rasmus Højlund, not involved in the squad today. The AC Milan deal isn't happening, but Napoli, the latest team to be linked with him. But for Šeško, and you talked about statistics, 16 touches, only one of them in the Fulham penalty area. Is that down to him not making the runs, or him not expecting that the balls are going to be coming into him? A combination?
I think it's going to be it is a combination. He's only been in there a couple of weeks, so he's got to learn a new team, a new style of play, I think, because it would have been different to the club he was at before. Ruben Amorim's going to expect a lot, and like Louis said, when you join a club like Manchester United, there's so much expectation, there's so much noise outside. It's starting to learn what players do, the runs that they do, and it's a formation where if you're the target man, you're going to need runners off you. And we said that. We said we need the number 10s to be either running behind or getting round him. I think at the time when he come on in the game as well, Man United were on the back foot, and Fulham was starting to grow more and more into the game. So it was difficult, it was tough, but everybody's seen what he can do, everyone's seen what he can produce. It's just learning more in training, getting to know the players even more, and then showing his capabilities and his abilities on the pitch.
What do you make of the fact that it's the fault of you and all your fellow pundits that have got into the players' heads for talking about the system?
What?
That's what Ruben Amorim claimed.
Right,
the pundits had got into his players' heads with all this talk about the system, and the system wasn't the problem.
All right, I've not seen that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I've not got a lot of time for that. I think if you're, well, for a start, if pundits are getting into your head, then you shouldn't be playing for the club. As simple as that. I mean, do people not remember Alan Hansen criticising us when we broke in as young kids, saying that you can't win anything with kids? That was the greatest centre-back of all time at that moment. You know, the most successful centre-back of all time, talking about us as if we were, you know, inferior and nowhere near good enough. Do they not think that we got criticised during our football careers? I'm sorry, you're playing for Manchester United. It comes with the territory. You've got to step up, and you've got to basically. And look, they've been hopeless in the system. They've been absolutely hopeless. So I mean, all right, it's not the system, it's you, the players. We can start just battering the players. I mean, I've mentioned the system because I've not liked certain things that I've said. For instance, you know, Mason Mount playing left wing back. That can't happen. Changing the back three all the time. That two in midfield means that, you know, Bruno's got to play in midfield. I don't like that aspect of it. So the parts of the system are a problem in the sense that they haven't got the right players, you know, or it's meaning that Bruno's not in his best position, which is probably in that position where we've seen Enzo Fernandez today in that number 10. So the system does create problems. But you're right. It's not. He's right in what he says. It's not the entirety of the problem. The players are a problem. The manager is a problem. The whole thing's a problem. If you're losing football matches to the level that Manchester United have been doing, then I don't know. I never blamed anybody else when we lost football matches. And I played in the dressing room that basically when you lost football matches, you came in and you said, "Sorry about that last today. I was a mess for that goal, or I made a mistake." There was accountability. Why would you blame other people when you're losing matches? I mean, to be fair, that's a pretty big problem in itself. So no, I've not got any time for it. Excuse mentality, shortcuts, blaming other people. You know, it's the worst thing that you can do that in life. I think they just need to concentrate on doing their jobs and do it well and win football matches. That's the only thing that's going to shut anybody up is winning football matches, and they've not won anywhere near enough football matches. We could all be quiet and say nothing about Manchester United. It's getting to that point, by the way, where people are just switching off a little bit and sort of saying, well, I expected it, which is the worrying thing. The fact that we're still talking about the club and the fact that the club's still under scrutiny tells you how big the club is. But it's getting to that point now where Manchester United lose that you almost like to think, well, I expected that. And that's a big problem because the levels have dropped to such a standard. So no one wants that. You think the ex-players that played for the club want to see Manchester United lose? You think I go there, my kids go there, every other week if they're not going to Salford and watch them play? And I go and watch them play if I'm not working for Sky. You think I want to go and watch them lose? You think I walk down that canal bank for 45 minutes into that stadium just to go and watch them lose? No, I don't. I go to watch them win. And so does every other fan that goes in that stadium. So I think that they've got to do the jobs consistently and reliably, and they've got to start performing as they should be, which is a highly motivated, strong squad that's been put together with a lot of money placed on them, a lot of money being paid to them, a lot of money that's been spent on them, and they've got to basically go and win football matches on a consistent basis. And in 2 weeks' time, they've got a massive opportunity to play at Anfield, the toughest game, and that will tell you where Manchester United are. I'll tell you where Liverpool are at. It's a great game to look forward to in 2 weeks, because Manchester United are off the back of a win, Liverpool are off the back of a couple of defeats. The game will have pressure on both teams, both managers, and they'll have a chance to step up and play well in their system and play well at a difficult ground.
Former Manchester United forward Wayne Rooney has been highly critical of Ruben Amorim's tenure at the club. We know that. He said in the past that the United have got worse under his management. Well, speaking at tonight's Legends of Football Awards, Rooney told us that the manager and the players have to take responsibility for the performances.
Yeah, no, it's a collective, and I think firstly
real positive at the weekend. I think a good result, a big high pressure game for the manager, for the players, for the club. And I thought they played really well and was efficient and kept it simple, and it was a really good victory. So, and yeah, listen, it hasn't been right for a while, and when it's not right, you know, we all want it to work. I want, and I really do hope the AMORIM does well and turns the form around, because as I said, he's a fantastic young manager. But if you not get results, then of course the pressure's going to come on you. But I really do hope he turns around.
And look, so much has been made about his formation and his stubbornness to play the same way every time. Do you see that as an issue? Because he never seems to see it as the pure issue, right?
Yeah, well, he slightly changed it on at the weekend, and he got the win. He went more with a two-up front, which helped. Went a bit more direct with the goalkeeper playing with Sesko, and it worked. So yeah, I think you've got to give him full credit, because he has said that he won't change, but he did slightly change at the weekend, and it worked.
And look, do you see Ruben Amorim as the man that can turn it around? Because he has been in place for almost a year now. Results haven't been great, but does it paper over the cracks, the result against Sunderland, or is it still a case of giving him more patience?
Listen, the result was big, and you want to see consistency. You want to see them winning, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row, and that's what obviously gets you up the table. And for Amorim, listen, time will tell. We hope it does, because, as I said, he is a really good young manager. What we've seen so far doesn't tell us that, but listen, he'll be doing everything he can to try and turn that around.
He's not going to come out after a game and start criticising the system. I don't think so. And we also know every team that Pep's manager, he tries to overload the midfield, he tries outnumbers, whatever the system might be. But he's made the point there. I think it's a pretty honest interview that they should have done better for the goal. As simple as that. They should have been sharper in their own play going forward. But I said it earlier, this United team, they lack that real quality. They struggle defensively. The midfield, run about United breaking the press, but when teams get United look all over the place. I think they're just United are an average team, an average Premier League team. The stats will tell you that, and I'm going back to last season as well. So again, we're sitting here. United's record as well against any of the top 6 teams or whatever is really, really poor. They can't seem to compete. They'll have maybe a good 45 minutes or a good hour. Bruno makes the point here. They kind of done it quite well against Arsenal, but they lost the game at home to Arsenal. Ultimately, you are playing for Man United to win football matches. And when you say we're coming up against quality teams, yeah, but that's part of the challenge. When you sign that contract, you're going, yeah, it's no good just beating the teams, the lesser teams. You're playing for Man United to compete against other good teams, and United can't do that. Whether they're not good enough, there's obviously issues. Talk about the system, but the manager's come in, he's sticking to his guns, he's not budging. But the results, and we look at the points per game and the goals for, goals against.
So that's a concern.
It does concern me. It's not good reading. I came here today, and sometimes at United with a bit of history, they've done it last year. But as soon as the game starts, you're looking, going, oh, you're worried. But you get that feeling against when they're playing any decent team. But even when you think, we said they've scored 4 goals, and we think United are a bit better going forward now. 2 of them were penalties. So they're not exactly a free-scoring team and going, listen, we might score 2 or 3 and we might give up a few. It's like almost the same problems as last year. And what we were told, the new manager needs a pre-season. He needs his own players. I don't know how much they've spent. Another good few hundred million.
200 million, yeah.
200 million.
Over 200 million.
Over 200 million. So we keep making excuses, but at some stage you go, well, when are we going to see the signs? Now, people say give manager time, and of course. But we saw Slot going into Liverpool last year. Liverpool might have been a kind of a better team at United at that stage, but he ends up winning the league. You look at other managers, you see Frank going into Spurs, you go, am I going to see signs of Spurs improving? And yeah. So how long do you keep waiting when this team are probably getting a point a game? That's what you'd probably...
But those managers that you talked about, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this as well, guys. You talked about Thomas Frank, known for being an adaptable, flexible manager. Slot sort of didn't try and change too much when he went in and almost just tried to tweak Jurgen Klopp's system. So
yeah, my worry is...
I think the problem is with the manager and the tactics he's deployed.
But my worry is with the players now, and Bruno's talking there, and is that maybe the players haven't got that much faith in it. So as much as the manager's going, this is where we're going, lads, and at the start you're probably going, yeah, new manager, new ideas, something different. But as the results don't come and you keep getting beaten or you're struggling against the better teams, if the players start doubting this system, and we saw some of the goals are given up today where some are going, some aren't, some are pressing, he's making loads of changes, he's chopping it back with the Maguire at the back, he's bringing Casemiro, and it's like they're going on in circles, this United group. And if the players have lost faith in what the manager's saying, because usually what you want, you're sitting in the dressing room, when the manager says something, you're like, yeah, I'm all in. But if some of the players are now starting to doubt that, I'm not saying they are, but when you see some of the goals they're giving away, you're going, are you all fully on board with this manager going, listen, yeah, whatever you say, we'll do it. We'll run through brick walls for you. I don't quite see it yet. I hope it can change, but we've given the benefit of when he first came in. He didn't want to come in. He said he wanted to come into pre-season, but obviously United said, you've got to come in. So results weren't great. You go, okay, listen, first pre-season, give me a pre-season, give me my players. And United are throwing money. And if these are brilliant coaches, you go, well, when are you going to coach these players to make them better? Because some of the decision-making some of these players are making as well, which you've seen today, is like, it's just all wrong. And then not having the strength. But we see Shaw for the first goal. Now, Shaw's an international footballer. For him to get caught out like that, you're looking going, do you know, Shaw, I think Shaw's been getting away with murder for years at United. Always injured, never quite fit. We make excuses. Then he gets a few games under his belt. And he's making decisions like he doesn't even want to tackle people. Like, we looked at all the stats in the Derby match there. Not one yellow card. And we're having the big build-up. The Manchester Derby, the it's raining, it's like set up for a few tackles are flying in. You're getting people. And Man United walk off the pitch. No, I'm sick of repeating myself. You walk up and you go, it's a derby game. How are you physically? You're shattered. You shouldn't be able to get out of bed for a week after a tough game. And they're all walking off, and it's not one yellow card.
First time ever in a
But you've got
Manchester
to be
derby.
set up right, though. In terms of Man City's strengths, their strengths in midfield will dominate the game.
But they're good at tackling for the goals, Mike.
Yeah, of course. But what's happening is they've got 2 in midfield against Man City's 3 in midfield. How are you supposed to cope with that? And we're talking about Foden, Rodri and Reinders.
Mike,
we're the best midfielders in European football.
We've all played in games where you're a midfielder. The system you're up against, they do have an extra midfielder, but you try and compensate with someone. But doesn't mean to say you don't tackle.
That's the problem.
You've got an extra centre-back.
You've got to, the centre-back has to jump
if
you're going to play
Which
with
is what Bruno
only
was
two.
saying.
Exactly that. But what's happening is they're not jumping at the correct times.
Right, well, you get that. You sort that out with your team. That's another new buzzword. Where you jump. Try tackling.
Yeah.
Try hitting somebody. Like that. The football's a physical game.
But
we love it.
You have to. I agree with you what you're saying, to be a bit more physical, but you have to be in the right positions. Going out there against these players who can keep the ball for fun, you can't get anywhere near it. And if you've got 5 at the back just holding it, and you've got 2 in midfield running around like headless
But the
chickens,
reason they can't get near...
it's impossible to get
But
near.
the reason they can't get near me is because they're not mobile enough, they're not fast enough, they're not aggressive enough. They're really good in the ball, but if you gave me time in the ball, I'd still be playing. But part of the game is people closing you down, or being aggressive, or hitting you late, make it physically demanding.
I agree, but we talk about systems all the time, but I genuinely believe Man United would be a better team if they played 4-3-3. I do. I think they've got the players for it now. I think this system is hindering them. They don't know what they're doing. When they're on the ball, they're trying to make something happen. The manager's trying to coach them, but it's not working. They're not.
The only validation they're getting in this system, in the 3-4-3, is when they switch the play, it looks good.
Correct.
But there's nothing else.
Or a counter attack.
Or a fast break. Fast break buzzword. It's how they are effective. It's how they're effective. They either attack really quickly or they switch the play with the 2. You spoke about the 2 midfielders, right, in front of the back 3. They're so stiff and rigid, and there's no kind of offset shape to them. So, like for the first goal, if Ugarte doesn't jump out level with Bruno Fernandes and he offsets, I don't think that goal happens.
What was at fault today? Was it the system or the way it was deployed? Are Manchester United good enough to play in this way, or should they be just throwing it out? Nice easy one for you to start with.
He's not going to. I mean, when Ruben Amorim first came, I was quite heartened by the fact that he was going to play three at the back because I felt that they didn't have two centre-backs that were good enough to play in a four. But every single time I watch Manchester United, he changes the back three every single game, which tells you he's not sure about which back three he should play. And he doesn't just change the back three, he changes the back five. So you either have different wing backs or you have different centre backs. I mean, the amount of times you see Dillick go over to the right hand side, Maguire coming on, every single match. So look, system, no system. There are a lot of individual errors out there today as well. Luke Shaw had one of his worst games that I've seen him have. He's had a pretty decent start to the season, but all three goals he could have done better. You've just shown the one there where he was square. On the second goal, he was, he got obviously, done by Haaland, and on the third goal he leaves it short for Maguire, who then obviously doesn't help himself either by the pass. So, yeah, they just had a really bad day at the back. But it was a bit of a nothing from United. I mean, they had little moments, 15 minutes in the first half at the start, and they had 5 minutes in the second half before City scored. But look, they're 14th in the league. It's only 4 games in. And we all said at the end of last season we can't be getting into October where Manchester United are 14th, 15th in the league, or else the manager will be in trouble. Now there's a few games to go before that, but they have to start winning quickly. Manchester United over the last 10, 11 years have sort of accepted a position whereby they've made mistakes in the transfer market, or they've made mistakes in recruitment, or they've held on to players too long. It would seem that, to be fair, what's happening now is that Ruben Amorim is identifying players he does not want in the squad, and to be fair, he's moving them out of the squad. That's a positive. The second thing is, I do like, on paper, the signings of Cunha and Mbeumo. Why do I like them? A couple of reasons. Well, 3 actually. One is that they've got Premier League experience. One is that they look more like Manchester United styles of players with a bit more pace and power and the ability to have that sort of physicality to be able to get from box to box quickly. I think when you look at particularly Garnacho, Sancho, Anthony, they're more jinkers, I call them, more people who sort of work in tight spaces. I've always felt at United you need players that can open the legs up and really sort of stretch teams, and I think Cunha and Mbeumo do that. And then the other thing I like about those 2 signings is that they've not proved themselves at the highest level yet in the game in respect of a Premier League club level or European club level. So they should be really desperate and hungry to prove themselves on a huge stage, which is Old Trafford. And that hunger hasn't always been there in the last 10 years with players that have come to the club. They've come maybe where they've been the more finished article and we've got excited by them, but maybe they've come and maybe not had that desperation. I always feel like a player needs hunger. They need desperation in the game to feel that it's the most important thing. I think these 2 lads that have signed will have that. So I think the 2 signings are good signings yet. There's a couple more needed. I think they need a goalkeeper. They need a centre forward. And I think if they can fill those 2 positions with decent signings, then United can have a lot. I mean, they have to have a better season than last year. It can't get any worse, really.
So United have to get some sort of foothold or momentum into their season, and certainly that's improving their home form. You still use question marks over the midfielders and defensively or whatever, but you got people like Bruno who can get you out of jail every now and again, and obviously it does help when you get a helping hand from Chelsea's decision making, particularly from the goalkeeper. But yeah, it's an important win, and it just hopefully gets United, particularly new players to the club, when they can win at Old Trafford and get a bit of excitement going, yeah, this is good. You know, winning gives you that good feeling. And certainly the manager would feel better for it, because after the City game, listen, we were all there to criticise him, wasn't good enough. But a few wins, bit of confidence, momentum, and hopefully they can build on that. But a long way back, obviously.
I just want to go back to Chelsea, Kelly, actually, because I said about the manager didn't cover himself in glory, maybe, you know, with the changes he made in the first half. It was a bit messy, but listen, you're down to 10 men, you lose the game. And I think Chelsea supporters now at the moment think I've got it in for them, because me and him had a big argument a few days ago. But I actually think the manager's done a brilliant job since he's been there. I mean, he's coming in year one. He's got them Champions League football. They were never in contention for the title. So Champions League football through the league. He's won the competitions he was in. Does brilliant to, you know, not just beat Paris Saint-Germain, but really, you know, take them to the cleaners in the World Club Championship. My criticism with Chelsea is the actual 3.5 years they've been there in terms of a club, and how you can still have that team. And we're saying no chance for the league. And Chelsea fans know that. If you go back to Chelsea teams winning the league, who did they have as goalies? Cech and Courtois. That just tells you all you need to know as a Chelsea fan. And my big problem with Chelsea is how, nothing to do with Maresca as such, but how 3.5 years in, with the money that's been spent, you turn up to Old Trafford with the goalkeeper and the centre-backs that you've got. It can't win you the league. There's no league in 100 years where the standard of those players in those positions for Chelsea right now can win the league. It just can't happen.
But they can finish potentially in the top four. Where can Manchester United finish? Justin, I think it feels like it changes every week. And I feel like we're asking you the same question every week.
No, I'm going to stick with what I kind of said at the start of the season. I still think about 8 or 9 would be decent for United. I really do. Again, you turn up you're not sure what you're going to get. Obviously, it helps when the goalkeeper gets sent off, and you've got people like Bruno, but I still think that's not enough. I still think United are looking at maybe 8 or 9.
Welcome along. Long transfer time. Darmish and Michael are with me. Darms, let's start at Manchester United. Tell us about this exodus.
Yeah, this is quite big news, actually. All of these players that you can see behind us: Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony, Tyrell Malacia have all informed, we understand, Manchester United that they want to leave the club. Now, as a result, Manchester United have actually delayed their return date to pre-season. The rest of the squad are expected back on Monday, on Monday, July the 7th, to return to pre-season. But all 5 of these players have been granted a delay so that they can try and sort out a solution for their future. If their futures are not resolved in that period, then they will return to Carrington, to the Manchester United training ground. Not necessarily, it should be said, to reintegrate themselves into the first team squad, though we can't rule that out, but it is to use the facilities and use the medical facilities and any remote facilities that they have that all the squad would be able to enjoy anyway. But as it stands, those 5 players, Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Anthony, Malacia, have all made it clear to Manchester United of their wish and their desire to leave Old Trafford.
And the interesting one as well, you know when your futures might be not at the club you're at, is when your number is taken away. What we also found out this afternoon, Matheus Cunha will now have that number 10 shirt, the famous Manchester United number 10 shirt, which Marcus Rashford has had since 2018. Now, Cunha was done so earlier, you forget what a potentially a huge signing this could be for Manchester United, and it looks like he will wear that number 10 shirt, and we are told that Rashford was told about this earlier this summer.
OK, so Darish, let's just go through the 5 players in order and where you think they might end up or what their plans might be. And let's start with the ex-number 10, Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, the ex-number 10 is incredible, isn't it? Michael is so right when he says that nothing says that you're not belong a part of the club's plans, then, yep, there's your number. You're not having it anymore. There's your number 10 gone. So Marcus Rashford, we know, spent the second half of last season on loan at Aston Villa, returned to United after both he and Villa didn't take up that £40 million option to make that deal a permanent one. There haven't been any formal offers as yet, we understand, for Marcus Rashford to Manchester United, but we have heard about his desire to join one particular club, and that particular club is Barcelona. He would love to go to Barcelona. Rashford wants Champions League football next season. Whether he were to get that move to Barcelona, we know that they've got a few financial issues when they try and get deals over the line. That's another matter. But as far as if he had his wish, he would like to go to Barcelona for next season.
And would United take another loan deal, do you think?
Look, the ideal scenario for all 5 of these players is for Manchester United to get permanent deals done for them, because the way we're looking at their window at the moment is that they had a budget to bring in the likes of Matheus Cunha, and I'm sure Michael will talk about Brian Mbeumo in a moment. Thereafter, they do still want to strengthen that squad, but it's felt that to really go big again in the transfer window, they would need to make sales. We do know that it's much publicised, the financial issues that Manchester United have got. If they were to sell all 5 of these players, you would expect Manchester United to be able to get between 125 to 150 million pounds.
Not if people know there's a fire sale.
But also, it's easier said than done trying to get permanent deals done because, and we mentioned Rashford in particular, his wages are really high. So would Manchester United have to entertain another loan move for Marcus Rashford and then maybe contribute to Marcus Rashford's wages for wherever he goes? Not an ideal scenario. They do want to do permanent deals for these players, but if there's a situation where they can get 2 out or 3 out of the door on permanent deals, there's still that option that a loan deal could be done for 1 or 2 of the others.
OK, so Jadon Sancho, another one. Chelsea didn't take up the option to take him.
Yeah, I mean, talks are ongoing between Juventus and Manchester United over the signing of that man there, Jadon Sancho. Discussions also continue with Sancho's representatives over personal terms. We mentioned Marcus Rashford on big wages, Jadon Sancho on big wages as well. Now, why are Juventus exploring a deal for Jadon Sancho? Well, one of the big reasons is they haven't been able to secure a permanent deal for Francisco Conceição. They had him on loan from Porto for the entire season last season, but it was a straight season-long loan. Now, at the end of the season, there's a release clause in Conceição's contract, which is 30 million euros, but Porto want that paid in one big lump sum. Juventus are trying to negotiate on that release clause. Porto aren't budging at the moment. That's why they focused a little bit of their attention now to Jadon Sancho, because we think the asking price is around £25 million, but it's not a release clause. It's just basically what Manchester United would want for Jadon Sancho. And if you have a price, for example, of £25 million,
yeah, again, good delivery. We know Arsenal are big and strong and they vary it, and it's. But if you stop it where it goes in, where the ball ends up, the goalkeeper, that's your keeper's job. So for all the blocking and the advantage, and the goalkeeper, that's his area. He has to be. I always say, he has to come with violence. He's got to be aggressive. He's got to be almost saying to players, yeah, come in here, come here. I'm happy to deal with it. And you've got to be aggressive. But look, he's not strong enough.
You agree, Daniel? He can do more.
Look, he's appealing to the referee. Don't be appealing to the referee. So, lads, look, he's on his heels. If a player comes into your area, you go, yeah, you come in, you invite him, because I'm going to I'm going to hopefully punch the ball and I'll take you with it. Far too easy. It's like, you wouldn't see a kind of, it's like schoolboy stuff.
We'd seen it before from him, hadn't we, last season against Spurs in the Carabao Cup. So the warning was there.
And that's part of the goalkeeper's job. We talk about shot stopping, but that's about taking command of your area and also letting your own defenders know, going, lads, if it does come into this area where it came into, first of all, I've got it. I've got it. Listen, if something else happens to that, we react to it. But if that comes into me, I am favourite for it. I am going to be favourite. He's, 6'2", 6'3", and he ends up on his heels and you're getting bullied. Why don't you bully the other lads? Why don't you come and punch it and go, if you come near me, hey, listen, I'll take your head off as well, it's no problem. But they're all a bit, referee, no, don't look at the referee. Take control of it. It's like a weakness to it, physically and mentally. And especially on an in-swinger, you must know that when it's an in-swinger, it'll always be coming towards me. Out-swinger is slightly different. You think, well, I want to be careful. I don't want to be drawn out to it and getting dragged into bodies. But when it's coming in on top of you, you go, hey, happy days.
By contrast, did we see through David Raya the example of that positive goalkeeper who's going to make sure it doesn't cause him problems because he's going to deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, the conviction in it is there, his experience and
similar
confidence.
situation, isn't it, really?
But if you look on there, who's he got defending him a little bit more? He's got Gabriel, where on the other side it was Mount. So if you look at the balance between Saliba and Mount at the time, he's getting ragdolled everywhere. I just thought De Ligt could have come inside and Mount could have gone outside. But in terms of the goalkeeper making that decisive decision, it was a really good punch. But if you just look here, Mount and Saliba, it's difficult. I agree with Roy. Bender should have done a lot better.
Saliba
but when you've got bodies in front of you,
Saliba's not even. He should sleep. But look at the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper's not even aware of him. The goalkeeper's on his heels. And now he starts moving. He should be on his toes, bouncing, going, no, you're going to come in here and be a nuisance. Saliba's doing very little to him. Do you know what he's doing? No, but he's lean. He's only leaning into him.
The job of that player in that role there is to protect the goalkeeper so he can come and punch it. There's a lot of chaos going on within that.
This is big boy stuff. You're saying protect him.
But you've got De Ligt.
Yeah, but there's going to be mismatch. If they've got players, a lot more players bigger than your lads, you're going to be outmatched somewhere.
But not in the centre of the
but if it comes there,
it's come to the.
But he's only leaning into him. But that's the goalkeeper. You can't babysit a goalkeeper.
I agree with you that the goalkeeper should definitely do better, but I also believe he could be
the last player you wanted there
is that, Micah, a little bit to do with the smartness of Arsenal's routine that they sort of eliminate Manchester United's best aerial defenders in that situation?
Why I believe De Ligt was at the far post, because Arsenal sometimes have all the players that start at the front and then go to the back, so they must have thought the ball was going to the back post. That was the reason I believe De Ligt was there. But unfortunately, Rice, we've not talked about Rice's delivery. It's on a sixpence, absolutely brilliant, where it's in the centre of the goal, and that's where you want your strong centre half to help out the goalkeeper.
You say that, right? But they've got Casemiro, a big defensive midfielder, and Euro, who's another centre half. I totally agree with De Ligt being at the back post. Are there best markers on people? Only the manager knows that. What I will say is I've done the role of Saliba in this situation, and it does seem as if he is getting the better of Mount, but I'm not going to say it's Mount's fault, because in the end, when you're on the football pitch, right, what do you want? You want one thing, it's your goalkeeper to come and clear everybody out.
Any question that he's fouled there?
No.
I wouldn't say so.
You know, you should go and play chess then, shouldn't you?
Do you think
part of the game we love is obviously physicality of football? Listen, we're all getting fed up with fouls, but if a goalkeeper is going to be doing this to the referee, going, like, the Arsenal lads must be looking at this goalkeeper going, there's a weakness. There must be a weakness to that side of his game, obviously.
Or is it? It's today.
You've got to target it. Is there a bigger picture and a bigger around goalkeeper right now? Because Onana, we know, has had his injury problems at the start of this season, but has been left out of the squad this afternoon.
When he has come in, and we sometimes say it's difficult for a goalkeeper to come in and get up to speed or whatever, but he's had a run of games. He's had a taste of it last year, but we're on about trust and belief. The players you want to impress the most when you're a footballer, you're on about supporters, is your teammates. Your teammates want to be able to look at your goalkeeper going, if it does come into this neck of the woods, would it be a Schmeichel or all the top goalkeepers going,
He's fine. I think he'd be okay. But instead of us going, I'll block him, he's only leaning into him. Yeah, like they must do. Obviously, they go through their own set pieces. We saw it before the game. And if a goalkeeper can't deal with that part of the game, well, you are in trouble, because we know the importance of set pieces. We saw Forest in their first goal today. Set pieces are deciding huge games. We saw the stats from Arsenal. That's one of the reasons they're competing so well at the top of the table, just alone from their set pieces. So if you're a goalkeeper before the game, if they're doing their chats this morning, the last few days, and you're going through what you have to sort out, and you said to your goalkeeper, if that comes in here, you'd say, your goalkeeper coach would be saying to you, listen, that's on you. And he's not dealing with it. So it's on him.
Michael, I'll come to you with this one. The Man United goalkeeping position has been the most talked about position for the last 3 weeks since the season started. You can see they've gone with Lamons over Martinez. Do you think that's the right choice for them there?
Well, you're not going with someone who's tried and trusted in the Premier League. We know Martinez is, and he's a World Cup winner. He's had Golden Gloves. He's had everything. They talk about for longevity going for someone younger. I think Martinez was 33 today. So it's a little bit strange, because you look how many goalkeepers they've got on the books. It's remarkable, really, really is. I mean, they spent 50 million on Onana. Bayende comes in. Donnarumma, you think, what? Why didn't you go and get someone of his age who's won everything? All right, he might play in a different way, but I'll tell you what, as a goalkeeper, he's unbelievable. So it's going to be interesting to see how he settles in. Young keeper, loads of potential from Royal Antwerp. I mean, it's going to take time. We've seen many players go to Manchester United and struggle to settle in, because the pressure of that shirt weighs heavy on a lot of players. And even more so for a goalkeeper, because the amount of keepers that come through that door and the amount of keepers that go out is remarkable. And the money they spend, another 18 million plus on another goalkeeper, will this be the right one? Only time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though. It is about only time will tell. So have they brought a project that should come in later? I mean, who right now, Clinton, even after that signing, who is Man United's number one goalkeeper?
You know, I think Ruben Amorim thinks it's Bayern. I think Onana could be gone. But for me personally, you know who should be their number one? Heaton should be their number one. Because I think
right now,
100%, I've seen the other two play. They come out, they can't catch the ball. You make the defence nervy. That's my opinion. If you've got a goalkeeper like, and I know people will look at me, but I think why not give Heaton a chance? The other two goalkeepers make the defence so nervous. Obviously, the new goalie they've just signed now, we don't know much about him, but Dawes is right. It's a big step coming to the Premier League. You are playing for Man United Football Club. I don't know for the life of me why Man United haven't gone and try and get Martinez. You pay what you want to get Emi Martinez. He's a fantastic goalkeeper. They haven't. And they have a big issue with their goalkeeper situation. Hopefully the new signing they've made improves them, because you need that. You're only as good as your last line of defence.
Would you have gone for Donnarumma or Martinez? As in Martinez 33, Donnarumma is what, 26, 27?
I would have gone to Donnarumma.
I would have done personally.
But you have to say as well at the same time, Donnarumma's obviously leaving PSG on a ridiculous wage structure that he'll have.
Yeah.
Then you've also got the thing of Man City are after you. Yeah. So if you're then the player and you're hearing Man City want you or Manchester United, look at the two teams now. You're up against it. Chris, my question for you would be, you've now essentially, I mean, Clinton wants Heaton in goal, so then you've got four options. You've got
What's Van der Sar doing? Is he still?
Well, my thing is, I know goalkeepers' union is a massive thing, and you know they're trained together. They're a big group. Is that an issue though? You've basically got four number ones.
No, because Manchester United, even when you go back to Schmeichel, they messed around with a goalkeeper scenario, and then they got Van der Sar, and then there was a period of time where there was an issue. Top teams need top goalkeepers. It's not a position in the pitch that you can mess around with. It's your number 9's always your important one. The most important, your goalkeeper second. For me, you look at project players that Man United have bought in the past, even the goalkeeper. That would have been a top goal. Just go and pay the money to get, somebody who, Martinez at Aston Villa, rubs some people up the wrong way, but I don't mind it. He's got a cockiness and arrogance about him. He knows he's a good goalkeeper. Would he have been suited for Manchester United? Yes, because looking at them, there's a lack of characters. And Clinton's right for once. You know, the goalkeeper. There is a nervousness around the back line. You know, whoever plays. So, you know, for me, it is a position that is a real worry for Manchester United and has been since David De Gea left.
You don't know what they don't know what they've done putting me and him together.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're literally we're half an hour in and it's already begun. But it's great, it's great. Listening to the guys there and hearing what they're saying, was it a case of, for Manchester United right now, they're at a position where every time it comes in for a cross or anything around the goalkeeper, they're worried? Was experience what was needed in this moment?
Yeah, I think experience, I think character as well, and I think Martinez would have just gone in there and he has that real sort of not really bothered. You know, it's a massive club. There's going to be so much scrutiny on him. He'd be able to take that. And I think you're bringing in, you know, Lamans, who's 23 years old. He's had one season, hasn't he, where we've saw that, yes, he looks like a goalkeeper with lots of potential, but you feel like he'd maybe be better learning from someone like a Martinez, like a Donnarumma, because at the moment, Onana's clearly fell down the pecking order. Bayern does look shaky. And you look at this Manchester United team and you go, well, they've strengthened in an attacking sense, which is obviously what they needed to do. They need to add goals and creativity. Goalkeeper situation still needed resolving, and I also think the midfield area in terms of some legs in there. So yeah, you hope that it works out for him, but I just think it's a huge position for a young goalkeeper to come in and be that real character that's needed to be Manchester United.
Simon and I were in Glasgow. On Friday.
Big storm, yeah.
Oh, yes. There was a very big storm, but nothing like the big storm that kicked off in the compartment of our train later on in the evening. So the Chris Boyd lunch was fantastic, and we raised £90,000. And Chris Boyd, of course, former Rangers striker, he has a charity that helps other charities really and raises funds. And we went through the £1 million mark. That was great. Then we heard our flight back to London was cancelled, and then we were on a train. Now, the interesting thing was Emmanuel. He was larger than... Simon, good morning, incidentally.
Morning.
Just to prove he's here. He was larger than life, and everything was wonderful and he'd been received brilliantly in Glasgow. And then around Warrington area, we were told very late on the Friday, we're getting towards, 11 o'clock at night, and your next stop is Crewe. And that will be our final destination tonight. And that's when your mood changed. Now, I took the news as well as I could because I thought, oh God, I'm stuck in Crewe with Simon. In fact, we're all stuck in Crewe with Simon. But you were great until then, and then we wondered how we'd get home. Now, I don't know about you, I boarded a rail replacement bus. I lost you.
You know what I did?
In the rush. You managed to get yourself...
So I'm not doing that. I'm getting a taxi.
Now, he got a taxi, Emmanuel. How much did that set you back?
But it doesn't matter. These people are morons. not only did they set a train off an hour and a half late, not only did it stop in the middle of the railway lines for half an hour because they had no power, not only did they pick up some poor buggers that had been waiting on the side of a platform for 2 hours and forget to drop them off at a train station and took them another 50 miles down the road, they then decided, for no other reason, not for weather, that because the crew, who had done nothing for 6 hours, had worked out their hours, and they're no longer going to take people back to London at 1:30 in the morning. It's going to dump a load of people, young girls and single people on the train in Crewe at 1:30 in the morning, and everyone can just get on with it.
Yeah.
Which by that time...
Emmanuel, that was mild
of you.
Yeah, or you were indeed. That was mild compared to what he was actually like on the train.
Welcome to the real life.
Exactly. So you get back okay. I mean, Emmanuel, what I would say was, I get back in the bus and nobody really spoke in the bus, which was great. So we all got a bit of sleep. I get to Euston at 4:45 in the morning. When did you get back to London?
4.
At 4, right. I was an hour behind you in the bus.
Yeah, but you're going into Euston. I've got to get out of Euston as well, so it would have been another 30 minutes. So I was back in London an hour and a half before you.
Oh, I'm delighted about that.
Having a good snooze, having coffees on the side of the motorway, a nice cab driver, fueling the gig economy.
Yeah.
Making sure that people are rewarded for hard work.
How long did it take for you to come back?
3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah. Well, I was about 4.5 on the bus.
10 hours on the train.
Nobody was asking for you. And when I got back...
I can just imagine you peeing in a bag at the back of the bus.
I got back into my place, 5:15, and then I must admit, I got a little mercy text from Lord Jordan. Everything okay? Back okay? And I was like, yeah, back. I have to say, the event itself was magnificent. There were many...
That's the most important.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They raised a lot of money, and Chris Boyd, did brilliantly.
Fabulously, didn't he? Yeah.
What is the title race state of play? We're going to get into this. I mean, after a table-turning week for Liverpool that sees Arsenal hit the summit, who holds the status of favourites for the Premier League title? We'll get into it. After going down late at Palace last week, Liverpool conceded another late winner, this time at Chelsea, and that's 3 losses in all competition in a week. Who would have thought that? This was Arne Slot.
I think you're never close to your ideal. You have to work really hard to reach a certain level, and then it's very hard in football because you also play against very good teams to keep that level in going, and what I mean with that is consistency. So, but it's clear that we had our changes in the summer. Players came in different moments. Last week there's hardly been any training time, and still we need to try to bring these players in. And if the result would have been better today with a draw or a win, which was both possible, I don't say we deserved it. A draw we definitely deserved, but then we would have had a great start to the season if you take into account everything that what happened in the summer in Liverpool.
Emmanuel's with us. Did I hear you say earlier on that some of the big signings Liverpool have made, Emmanuel, aren't showing their top talent at this time? Wirtz being one, Isak being another.
Yeah, but Slot said that a lot of things happened during the summer. He's talking about the new signing? That's what he said?
Yeah. The incomers, yeah. So I think so, and how they adapt to that.
That's an excuse for him to explain why they are second behind Arsenal, if I understand well.
Yeah, I mean, I like Arne Slot, and I listened to him over the weekend. I mean, it's an interesting thing because this is now his team. This is a group of players that he's now bought. He inherited a team, and some people might argue he was quite fortunate last year because I think some of the teams in the league were quite mediocre. He won the league and deserves all the plaudits for it. I listened to him say some rather silly things on the weekend. He described the games that they've been in against Galatasaray, Crystal Palace, and Chelsea as being games that Liverpool were more dominant in, but it could have been 4-0 down against Palace. They got battered by Crystal Palace. So when Slot started saying that, look, they've got to do better, Liverpool. Slot's now going to be under a little bit more focus because this really is his side. Last year, that was not his side. That was a side that was handed to him. He had an embarrassment of riches. And I also listened to Wayne Rooney. I thought Wayne Rooney was really, very good. I think he'll become a really good pundit, Wayne, once he gets a bit more confident in front of the camera. But he was talking about the performance of Salah. Yeah. Because Salah does not want to work back. He does not want to track back. He doesn't want to do anything other than go forward. Now, of course, all the things he's done in the past give him a currency. But this Liverpool side, and with the new changes that they brought in there, some of the players that are on that field aren't putting shifts in, and Salah is one of them.
Is it a valid point to make, Emmanuel, that for some players it's not an easy process to fit in immediately?
No, of course, no.
Like I mean, did you fit in immediately?
No. It took me a couple of weeks, to adapt myself to English culture, football, and as well my new teammates. I remember a game, I think it was in October or November, something like that, just a couple of weeks after the start of the season. And we play away at Southampton, and I received a big kick, and I thought, what the hell, what's going on the pitch? And I had a big talk and discussion, the following day with Arsene Wenger. He said to me, he convinced me to stay at the club, and he said to me, I'm confident, you have everything to adapt yourself to become a success, with Arsenal, and this is, and I get resilient, and I kept on working, and we all saw what happened afterwards. But coming back on what Slot said, well, last season they became champion, and didn't make any new signing, and he was following the step of Klopp, and they won the Premier League. And all of a sudden, because they spent 500 million pounds, this is an excuse now that they are right second, and they were leading the table. They won against Arsenal 1-0, and all of a sudden they are losing 3 games in a row, and they are conceding, for me, this is my opinion, too many goals, from the start of the season. And where they've been, very performing, they've been brilliant, defensively for the last couple of years. So I know that it takes time for the new signing to adapt themselves, but I think sometimes you need to work much more as a team than individuals.
Yeah,
this is something that's been missing for me at Liverpool.
Well, at the moment, it's Arsenal and Liverpool 1 and 2, and you wonder, come May, is that going to be the picture? The weekend there was Arteta's 300th match in charge of the club, his 177th win. And that took his side to the top of the Premier League for the first time since May 2024. Let's hear Emmanuel on Arteta.
Well, very proud is a big number for this football club. I want to thank you, everybody, especially my coaching staff that they've been with me since day one, and without them, it's impossible to, first of all, to do the job, and secondly, to enjoy it. So I know that I have the best people in the world around me. And after all the players and the staff that they've been since day one, supporting, helping me to be a better coach, to learn from them, to inspire me, and to enjoy the good moments as well. So I wanted to celebrate it with a win. I've got it. Now we have the international break to enjoy it and use the time as well to prepare, because what's coming in the next break is going to be really difficult again.
Emmanuel, he has the highest win percentage of any permanent manager, including Wenger. What do you think they've gotten him? I mean, are you visualizing this now, that in May he's got the Premier League trophy in his hand?
What's the most important? The average wins or the title you win? For me, I would prefer that Arteta will probably win less. We have less victories, but instead of winning titles, And this is for me the most important. If you ask me the question of a former player, if I am an actual player, I will tell you I prefer to lose much more games, but at the end of the season I would want to win the title. I don't care, you know, to be the much successful manager in terms of victories if at the end of the season I don't win anything.
So how would you describe his legacy if he ends up winning the title for the first time in 21 years?
Well, I hope they're going to win the title, and I think they will win the title because of the new signing, because of the options that Arteta have, you know, on the bench, and the rotation he can make, the turnover he can make, you know, every games. That's for me the biggest reason why Arsenal lost the last 2 or 3 seasons the title, you know, the competition with Liverpool or Manchester City. So it changed a lot. So that's why I think I don't see Arsenal or Arteta not winning the title this season, to be honest with you.
What kind of squad has he got, Emmanuel? I mean, when you look at his first game in charge in 2019 against Bournemouth, Saka is the only one that remains.
Martinelli as well.
Martinelli, I'm looking. He came into the group later, didn't he?
Yeah.
In that group, Leno, David Luiz, Socrates, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Xhaka, Torreira, Aubameyang, Ozil, Reece Nelson, Lacazette. Saka's the only one.
All gone.
All gone. It's quite a turnaround and quite a turnover. So the players who are there now, obviously it's working for the better for Arsenal.
Yeah. The spine of the team is not there, you know. I remember back in days, you know, when we started with Arsene Wenger, he kept the spine of the team and they won titles and they became invincible. It's quite, you know, the football changed so much, you know, on the bench, but as well on the pitch.
Yeah. I mean, even the subs, Emi Martinez, Mavropanos, Mustafi, Willock, Guendouzi, Smith Rowe and Pepe.
I wonder what this statistic that we like to trot out about he's the most successful Arsenal manager in win records is compared when you compare it to the first 6, 7, 8 years of Arsene Wenger. Because I would imagine Arsene Wenger's win record was better. The latter part of Arsene Wenger's career, when the thing changed and he started to go into decline and the team started to go into managed decline. But if you look at his arrival in 96 and winning the league in 98 and the team and the things that they did, I would imagine that his win record was higher than Arteta. So if we're going to judge it like for like, we probably should judge it on the first 5 or 6 years of Arsene Wenger.
Because he won title.
Correct.
That's the main difference, I think.
Was it easier to win the title when Wenger did it?
People will always remember you because of what you won, not the game you won, you know?
Yeah.
They will probably tell you, you know, sometimes people stop me saying that, yeah, I remember this game. But most of the time, they stop me because of what I've won during the season, what the victory we've done, you know, during the season.
Yeah. Are you absolutely certain that Arteta is a man who can lead Arsenal to this title? Or do you have a slight doubt?
They lead the table, actually, you know. As I said, when you look at the schedule of the games from the start of the season, they have been played against the top teams in the Premier League, and they are first on the table.
Half a century of Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. Can you believe that? How would you evaluate it amongst United fans, in fans in general? Because many observers have been looking at what Amorim has been trying to do at Manchester United and wondering if he's going to achieve what he's trying to do. At the weekend, they got a much-needed win, beating Sunderland by 2-0. His 50th, as I say, game in charge of the club. And post-match, he was asked about Mason Mount, amongst others, suggesting that the players are 100% behind him.
I saw today, and I know that they want to do the best, and I know that they don't want to change the coach all the time. But like I said during this week, to be with the manager I will kill myself to go in every transition. That is we need to show with actions. And sometimes when we look at our team, I know for sure that when we see the games in the end, they know that sometimes we can do better. So I feel that during the week, but we need to show that on the pitch, not just at home, but also away.
So 50 games in charge, Simon. I don't know, 3 words. How would you evaluate it? His time there.
Given a lot of latitude.
Given a lot of latitude.
Paul, is it?
No, it's fine.
Lots of latitude.
Yeah.
He's been given, he's had remarkable tolerance and patience. I mean, I don't want managers to be fired in quick order. I don't think it's admirable. to bring somebody in and not get something from them that you clearly saw when you were employing them. And I don't like the industry that it automatically micromanages people. And instantaneously we're talking about managers losing their jobs. But I think the object of the aim of bringing someone in is to make things better, and to make things better in short order. And it depends what you think short order is. We've been a year with AMORIM. I'm no wiser as to whether he's a good coach or a bad coach. I'm no wiser why it is that there's an enormous amount of temperance, seemingly, other football clubs that have far less reason, or far more reason for temperance, seem to have none. Nottingham Forest have no temperance, seemingly, for Ange Postecoglou. Yet Man United fans have been ground down to such a nub of lack of expectation that they're actually celebrating this manager and his lack of achievements.
Yeah.
I thought they were better on the weekend, and so they should be against a promoted side. I thought there were times during the game, from what I saw, and albeit it's the potted highlights, that they looked like a United side of old, with, you know, buccaneering, cavalier approach to the game, and free-flowing football and aggressive wingers and all of this stuff. But I don't know what, 50 games in, he is being given, whether it's because they don't want to admit they've made a mistake, or whether they believe that they've got enough in the tank to let him to go on and on and on, to get to a point where Man United are redeeming themselves. I think Man United will finish higher up the table than people potentially are suggesting they will. I think they will. I think they'll finish in the top 6, but that's where Man United will be, and that's where they may well stay.
Top 6.
And if that is good enough, I mean, by that I mean 6th. Okay. Now, if that's good enough for Man United fans, who am I to say that it's not? It's not good enough, in my mind's eye, for arguably the biggest club in the world besides Real Madrid. It's not good enough for the expenditure that's been foisted upon this football club and spent over the years. And it will not, and no one else is standing still. So other people are going to get worse, they're going to get better. Man City are going to regain some poise somewhere along the line. You know, Arsenal are getting stronger, Liverpool will again catch their breath, and Slot will go again. Other teams are becoming more proficient. Tottenham look better this year than they did last year. So all of these things, Man United's improvement doesn't operate in a vacuum. They're not in an isolation. Now, AMORIM as a manager, I mean, you speak to various football people. We bumped into various football people over the weekend. I think a lot of people are not having him, can't quite work out why he's getting the latitude that he's getting.
Yeah.
Why he's getting the dispensation. There's a part of me that thinks, great, someone's grown up enough to have given someone enough time.
Yeah.
But AMORIM, over the last 12 months, has said some ridiculous things. And I don't understand why these guys seem to be so unprepared for the spotlight that Man United bring. It's the biggest club in the world. It brings more attention. You know, as I said before, you fart in the corridors of Carrington, it gets heard around the world, doesn't it? And
if you choose to do that. And the fact of the matter is, though, he's won 10 of 37 games since taking charge, but he's failed to win back-to-back league games so far.
Yeah, no, he has.
So next up, after the international break, Liverpool away. Now, that's an interesting test.
The two teams have
and then pre-match at the weekend, though, Simon, he talks about, but see, one of the problems is the players listen to pundits.
Nobody here is naive we understand that we need results to continue the project. We will reach a point that is impossible for everyone, because this is a very big club with a lot of sponsors, with 2 owners, so it's hard. The balance is really hard. My biggest problem is for my players believe in you guys when you say the problem of our team is the system. I get crazy about that. Not with you, I don't want to change your mind, but my players, I guarantee you they are listening to you, all that opinions, and they are putting that inside because we are not winning games, and they have to believe in me because I watch more games than you guys combine.
Really? But the problem is, the players listen to you guys. And this is the point he's making there. Well, yeah, they do. But what's that going to do with anything?
Well, it depends who he's talking about. I would imagine he means pundits like Roy Keane and ex-Man United players that have a view. Well, you must have to look at yourself then, Ruben, right? Because if you're a leader and you command respect and attention, and your players will run through brick walls for you, then they will listen to you and not someone else. So your issue is with yourself and your inability to command and demand the attention of your players, rather than a bunch of talking heads that maybe once kicked a football from Man United commanding more attention. Of course, players will listen. The players that are looking for excuses or looking for a reason why they aren't performing in the way that they perhaps could and should, or look for any solace. We all know that the players take the path of least resistance. Hence the reasons why they get their agents carrying their man bags around for them all the time, because that's what they like. They like to be told only positive things. They can't hear any truths about what they need to do. But AMORIM, for me, and it's ironic, but this is the nature of this beast, we're a talk show, we should be talking, talks too much. He says things that enables him to be criticised or critique. He makes observations about the size of the football club and the level of sponsors and the two owners, as if there's some situation that somehow that's an obstacle in his way. That size of sponsor, that size of attention, that size of owner has given him hundreds of millions of pounds to spend on players.
Maybe those are your 3 words for him. Talks too much.
I think he does. I think what he says is unwise at times. But he seems to be getting away with it. And so he must think that it's a very wise way to be, because he continues to get away with it. He gets his name chanted from the terraces by the United fans for achieving the square root of nothing. He's made Man United worse. They performed pathetically in the Europa League Cup final when an opportunity to redeem themselves. And maybe this is all part of his master plan. Maybe he is a genius in the waiting and we're just Luddites and we can't see it. It's lulling everybody into a false sense of security, so people have written Man United off so much that they come creeping up on the rails and surprise us all.
Do you think Sir Jim Ratcliffe's enjoying his voyage into football? His Nice club at the weekend drew 2-2 with Monaco. They're 12th in Ligue 1.
I wouldn't think so. I don't know. I think he's a brilliant businessman, a fabulous businessman beyond all recognition and relatability for me in terms of levels of success. I think you can probably encapsulate what Jim Ratcliffe really knows about running a football club inside a postage stamp. And if you listen to some of the things that he speaks about and some of the way that he speaks, with all due respect to his level of success, which is remarkable in other areas, that doesn't make him a good football operator. And I should imagine now that obviously he's also rather foolishly inserted himself in between the Glazers and the fans so that he can now cop all the flack for the primary owners, which is the Glazers.
Newcastle beat Nottingham Forest by 2-0 to leave Postecoglou